full of complainers. And the fact is, nothing comes with a guarantee. I don't care if you're the Pope of Rome, President of the United States, or Man of the Year. Something can go all wrong. Now go on ahead, complain, tell your problems to your neighbor, ask for help. Watch them fly. Now in Russia, they got it mapped out so that everyone pulls for everyone else. That's the theory anyway. But what I know about is podcasting. And down here, you're on your own. It's a very hard voice to do.
Emmett Walsh, yes, he was just a little quiet. I feel like Emmett Walsh is loud.
I think he's quiet in this.
Well, maybe I'm thinking of the ending, obviously, where he is loud. But maybe he is quiet.
He's got this kind of, yeah.
He's loud. I saw him on the West End stage once.
Okay.
In his semi-dotage.
Uh-huh.
Like Emmett Walsh was always a middle-aged / older guy in movies, right?
Correct.
Classic, like...
Was never young.
Right. But then he was like an old guy.
Yeah.
Like for like a while.
He lived a very long time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And he was in a West End production of Buried Child, the Sam Shepard play. I think one of my favorite plays of all time.
Yeah.
Which has like an old guy who basically just sits in a chair the whole play going, right? Yeah. And he was that. Great.
I was watching some of the stuff on the Very Good Criterion disc.
Oh, yes.
And they talk about that they cast him. He's from Vermont.
Is he really?
I believe he said.
Let's find out.
Or no, Virginia.
Totally different place.
I know. Hold on.
No, you're wrong. He's from Vermont.
I had it right the first time.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
He was raised in rural Swanton, Vermont, which is in the top of Vermont.
He played a lot of Southern guys.
Northwest Vermont. Yes, he did.
And this is like...
you think of him as like a Southern sheriff
This
guy.
is what he was saying, was just like, that's not my way of speaking. It's not how I was trained to speak. I've like grew up around this very clipped, precise speech. And he was like, and I worked really hard to come up with the Texas accent for the character. And like, people really bought me as it. And then I watched the different interview on the disc with the Coen Brothers. And it was with David Eggers. And he was asking them about how they worked with actors. And they were like, we had never met this guy before until he showed up on set. It was the first time we were ever like meeting an actor who we had seen before. Like everyone else in this movie, we kind of were like meeting through auditions, right? And so we were so intimidated. And he comes and he's like, guys, I'm excited to show you this. Here's my accent. And he does it for them. And they're like, we cannot understand a word he is saying. And we don't know how to talk to him. We are too intimidated to give him any note.
I would be too intimidated to give that guy a note. Like,
but his voice is so fascinating. Mm-hmm. I could not approximate it. No. But it's like this very drawly whisper.
The musicality of it.
Yes.
It almost sounds like that voice actor who's in the Disney Robin Hood at times, who plays like the sheriff's underling.
Yes. Yes. Who I, in a previous episode, misidentified as Slim Pickens, but it's not. It is.
Let me find out for you. I'm guessing it is. Who plays who? Sorry?
He plays the...
Like Sheriff Nottingham's like the side guy.
Yes.
Kind of a wheezy, soft musical voice.
That guy was in movies too. That
Pat Buttram.
Yeah. Pat Buttram played the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Did you guys see Straight Time?
Yes.
His performance in Straight Time? Because I feel like that was their thing. Like they cast him off of that. And in that one, it's amazing because he's a scary character who really messes up Dustin Hoffman's life, but he's so soft and he's sweet. And I don't even know if he really is out of line. He's just doing his job, and he's wearing leisure wear with like big lapels.
He's like instrumentalizing his ability to be like a soft, kind of like unassuming, sort of like orderly person. And then like all of a sudden he like snaps into like, give me your arm. Let me see if you got any track marks, like.
So they were both saying that was the performance that led to them writing the letter and trying to get him cast in this movie, right? And it was just very fascinating watching the Rashomon of the two interviews and how he self-mythologizes and how they talked about working with him. And it does feel like there was some, like, if not active tension, a sort of like failure to communicate between the two parties, even though obviously it worked out great in the final product. And he was like, my dad was a cop and I got this role in Straight Time. And I felt like a lot of people would have villainized this character. And I wanted to play him empathetically, like he's really trying to help this guy. He was like, I want to not make this character antagonistic at all. And he felt good about what he was doing. And then you watch the final cut and he's like, half of this movie, I come off like a scary asshole. And then the Coens are like, hey, you know what we like? How in that movie you keep switching between the two things. And he was basically like, that was a failure of me executing what I tried to do that half the scenes felt like they got away from me or something. It's just very interesting to hear this performance is so singular. And it sounds like in a lot of ways it kind of happened by accident.
Is this, I think this is indisputably true, but I'll just say it anyway, the M. Emmett Walsh performance?
It's like
a man who gave 100 performances.
Texas, right?
It's Paris, Texas. You're saying that's the Harry Dean Stanton performance in a great tapestry of work.
He was basically saying that like he carved out his career where for like 20 years there were 10 guys where if you wanted 3 scenes and someone could lock horns with the movie star and they wouldn't try to upstage them, but they challenge them and get better work out of them. He was like, it was me, Charlie Durning, Harry Stanton. Like he listed the guys, right? And I feel like Paris, Texas is that same thing where you're sort of like, wow, I didn't think you could build an emotional story around this guy as a leading man. And Blood Simple is obviously more of an ensemble piece. He won Best Actor at the Independent Spirit Awards, even though I would argue he is supporting in this.
It's inarguable that he's supporting in this. That's kind of crazy.
He won Best Lead, beating Griffin Dunne for After Hours, we talked about right before.
That's back when the indie spirits, truly were indie spirited.
Yes.
But yes,
it was the first indie spirits ever. And Scorsese and the Coens tie for director.
Sure, why not?
And
After Hours won Best Feature.
Yeah.
I do not see Griffin Dunne nominated.
That's even more insane. So who
the
else
nominees are Ruben Blades. Yeah. I would say Blades.
Yeah.
There's no accent in it.
Sure.
And also means he has the coolest name in the history of actors. You guys like Ruben Blades?
You like saying Ruben Blades?
I hate finding out that it's actually just pronounced Blade and not
I don't know
Blade-y.
if it's pronounced Blades. I have no idea how to pronounce his name, and I'm so sorry. For a film called Crossover Dreams that I have not really heard of. Tom Bauer for a film called Wild Rose. And Treat Williams in Smooth Talk. He is so good. Have you seen Smooth Talk?
Yes.
God, he's amazing in that movie. That would be a worthy winner.
I'm just confounded by them not nominating Griffin Dunne. How does that happen?
I don't know. They had like 4 nominees.
Okay,
what do you want from them? And they don't even, here's the thing, they don't even have featured actor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just male lead, female lead.
Right.
So maybe it's just kind of like, we'll just nominate the performances we like. Because Treat Williams is also kind of supporting.
Because I feel like a supporting actress wins
this is a great
lead actress that year. Right.
You want me to bring it back?
Someone wins for Trip to Bountiful, but it's not Geraldine Page?
A movie, of course, that I once described on this podcast as being like, I've never seen it. Geraldine Page won.
She did.
For The Trip to Bountiful. The other nominees were Laura Dern for Smooth Talk, Rosanna Arquette for After Hours. This state of American independent film was really just like, we loved After Hours and Blood Simple.
We love After Hours in every category but Best Lead Actor. One of the most lead performance-driven movies. Because the whole movie is that also he's a griff.
Yes. And Laurie Singer for the Alan Rudolph film Trouble in Mind, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
With Keith Carradine and Chris Christopherson. But obviously it's a great movie. I have
you've never seen it, but it's obviously a great movie.
It must be.
Sure.
I have Emmett Walsh, say that 5 times fast, nominated for supporting actor, though.
I think this is just his like most iconic role, right?
Blade Runner. Trying to think of like competition.
But this is the thing. You could throw out a bunch of movies where you're like, Emmett Walsh crushes in 3 scenes of that movie.
Crushes a scene, yeah. The Jerk.
But this is the movie where his character is like larger.
So that's why I think this is
larger than life, I mean.
The complexity of the character. It's the first fully inscrutable, very layered, very contrasting, very powerful, magnetic Coen's character.
I think that's very well said. And I think hearing them talk about how much they couldn't agree on the character, by mistake, it kind of helps them identify something that they will try to intentionally, by design, build into the characters and the performances from here on out. Because everyone else in this movie is a lot more straightforward. Not a bad way, right? But you watch it and you're just sort of like, you can't imagine the Coens placing a character as uncomplicated as like, not John Dahl.
John Getz.
John Getz, thank you.
Although John Dahl would have been good too.
Yes. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the John Getz character feels so streamlined in a way they would never kind of let happen again.
Well, Billy Bob Thornton in Man Who Wasn't There is a little bit of a play on the same thing. Like this guy, this very masculine cipher stuck in a noir story, but it's almost like they go so inside his brain. In
Man Who Wasn't There, you almost want more characters to say to him, like, hey, like anyone awake in there? Like he's so flat.
Well, it's also they make it into the joke.
Right.
Right. Like, that's the bit. Exactly. Is like this guy looking more intense than anyone's ever looked, going on these long internal monologues while like cutting a child's hair. Versus like, Getz is kind of doing something a lot simpler in an effective way. I mean, I just watching this, I was like, the two movies in their career this feels most twinned with are weirdly No Country and Burn After Reading. It's like those two movies are the splits of the two things they're doing in this.
The Burn After Reading, you mean because of the sort of cuckoldry and assassinations?
That it's another movie based on a thing they love, but I think these are the two clearest examples. A bunch of overconfident idiots having no idea that they don't know what's going on. Right? That everyone thinks they got control of the situation. Like what's fascinating about this movie is that like it avoids all the conversations that could clarify things and stop all the terrible things from happening.
Sure.
And I saw someone point out that
I think
like
Fargo has that too.
It has that too.
Fargo.
It has that too.
It's not as much like unintentional crisscross, double cross.
Not
stuff.
as much, but there are a couple conversations in Fargo that would have helped things out.
Sure. But this, yes. This has the thing where you're just like, there are a series of misunderstandings based around everyone thinking that they can hold the upper hand.
Yes. Yeah.
And the fact that Emmett Walsh never interacts with Getz or McDormand directly is the most interesting thing.
Yeah, she kills him at the end. The final joke of the movie is she kills him and says, "I'm not afraid of you, Marty."
Right.
And he's the only one who gets it. Like the entire movie has been this Rube Goldberg mousetrap to get to that point. And he's the only character who sees it.
They see his hat in his Volkswagen Beetle for like one frame in the first scene of the movie. That's the only time that they have any type of like an eyeline match. Like the only time that they ever see him throughout the whole film. And I think that's something that the Coens are interested in, because also in No Country, like Tommy Lee Jones like never meets Brolin, and he never meets Chigurh either.
And the second Brolin meets Chigurh, the movie just jumps ahead and it's like conflict over, you know? This is a Blank Check with Griffin and David.
There we go.
It's a podcast about filmographies.
Woo!
Directors who have massive success early on in their career, such as being nominated for the first ever Independent Spirit Awards and winning Best Directors. Given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want, and sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce. Baby, this is the beginning of a very long but very exciting miniseries, as chosen by you, the listener, in our March Madness competition. We're talking about the Coen Brothers. The series is called Pod Country for Old Cast.
I believe so.
I was
hoping you remembered.
I think I remembered correctly. This is our first episode in the series. We've recorded
one before.
Yes. And today we're talking about their debut film, Blood Simple. Joining us on the show, returning for the first time together, but dear friends of the show, family, I would say. I'd say family.
Very much part of the Blank Check family.
When I threw out having them on for this episode, David's response was, they're family.
Well, because
he said, should we do guest lists?
Exactly. We often do the first episode with no guest. And then you were like, but Ray and Jordan. And I was like, yeah, they don't count as guests in the same way. They're family. And when you're here, you're family.
We like to think of this podcast as the Olive Garden.
It is Olive Garden, right?
You guys do have never-ending breadsticks.
We do. Which most of our guests don't call out. Considering how much we're spending.
That would rock if that was true. Like it's in our rider. It's like, by the way, unlimited breadsticks have to be wherever we are.
They have to follow us. When I say never ending, I mean never ending. It doesn't end once I leave your restaurant.
No, they just keep rolling out like a conveyor.
Yes.
You actually have to eat them or it's a problem.
Do any other chain, like fast casual chains, it's not fast casual, whatever you would call Olive Garden. Maybe it is fast casual. I don't know. Have like a tagline as ubiquitous as when you're here, your family.
No, I don't think
like
so.
those guys really did nail it with that.
I'm loving it.
No, that doesn't count. Like, what's the Applebee's?
Have it your
slogan?
way. Eating good in the neighborhood?
Well, he knows it.
I know all of them. You can keep asking me. We got the meats.
I want my baby back ribs. It's pretty good.
Chili's.
What is the
Currently, it is savor the moment.
Well, that sucks.
I agree. This is what I'm saying. This could be hard to get.
Yeah.
Outback's is like, it's always good in the Outback. And I'm like, guys, try again. Come on.
Isn't there something Outback Steakhouse? What was the theme? The song, the jingle used to have a different line at the end of it. Outback Steakhouse.
Well, there was the who was that band of Montreal?
The guy from Of Montreal recorded a jingle for Outback Steakhouse, but then when people were like, "Why did you do this? This seems very commercial," he was like, "I have no memory of agreeing to or recording this."
And the lyrics was a like redo of the lyrics of "Let's Pretend We Don't Exist," and it's like, "Let's go Outback tonight. You know the world will still be here tomorrow."
That's good.
That's good. I like that.
Let me say outright that our guests are Ray Tintori and Jordan Fish.
Welcome, fellas.
Excellent filmmakers, dear friends, family, but also co-hosts of the To the White Sea podcast, a years-long project you guys have been doing. Perhaps coming back soon?
Yeah, coming back this week.
Hey.
Oh, like this
by the
week
time you hear this.
it records. So that we release. There you go.
We said it now.
To the White Sea is like the great unmade Coens.
We will talk about it, I'm sure, later in this miniseries. It is probably there. I mean, when I'm a teenage boy, and just think of that. What a fun kid that was.
We all like to think about it.
Reading my Empire magazines. I was right on like To the White Sea. That's the great unproduced Coens movie. We're all waiting for To the White Sea.
And like Ana Cole being
There's
like, this
no
might be the greatest screenplay I've ever read.
Whoa.
Right.
Brad Pitt walking to the White Sea?
Yeah.
Possibly?
Gets very close to happening, falls apart, and then that basically directly leads into what is seen as like the Coens' weirdest fallow period before they have the No Country comeback.
Right.
Yeah, they dust off Intolerable Cruelty, which is a script that they had written.
Basically just to be like, we got to make something, right? Like, I guess we'll direct this thing that had been a for-hire job.
And then they did Lady Killers after that.
Right. They do these two studio comedies back to back that in my memory, were kind of received by people as like, are the Coen Brothers just trying to cash in now?
It seemed like it was over forever.
It really felt like it was over forever in a way where when No Country played at Cannes?
No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And people were like, you're never going to believe this. It's good. There was this sense of almost astonishment of like, I guess we wrote those guys off too quickly.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yes, there was a little bit of like the fear of had they finally lost the shine in the No Country is. Was it Cannes? Yes. Cannes. Couldn't remember if it was Cannes or
not. But you guys have done this project that started when the Coen Brothers sort of soft split and have been doing their solo projects of being able to like timestamp it and be like, here is the, at this point, complete filmography of the Coens. Who knows if it ever resumes as a team, through the prism of this unmade movie and going through the script and doing a sort of radio play version of the script, in which, of course, you had me play the Brad Pitt role.
Had to.
Obvious casting.
A beautiful, nuanced performance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He really does do a wonderful job.
But then also using that to sort of like thematically go through the Coens and talk about different recurring themes. The big point here is that you guys have been so deep in the trenches, doing so much research, going through fucking personal archives and microfiche and reading and watching everything, that we said, what a great opportunity to have them on for the first Coens episode, coast off of all the work they've already done for the last couple of years, and create a really good reason to fire JJ.
Let's fire his ass.
Let's fire JJ harder than we've ever fired JJ before.
Well, all I want to say is that when
you look at his dossier and you laugh.
When I go to a restaurant, I want legendary food and legendary service.
Okay, you're asking me to guess. You're doing the reverse.
I am.
Legendary food, legendary
service.
The service is legendary.
Now, having been to this restaurant, which I enjoy,
I
remember the service being
You'd push
particularly
back on
interesting.
that.
It was fine.
Medieval times would work.
That would be...
Medieval times makes sense in terms of legendary.
It'd be incredible, but it's not.
No. Michael Jordan Steakhouse?
That would be great, but I have to imagine the service there is awful.
I have to assume this is a sit-down chain.
Yeah.
How wide is it? This isn't like the
huge, one of the biggest sit-down chains.
One of the biggest. Is it Ruby Tuesdays?
Growing.
Is it Ruby Tuesdays?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you should know. You're the one quizzing me. It's growing.
What does Ruby Tuesdays sell?
Steak.
Cool.
It's not Red Lobster.
I'm going to abandon this in a second. Ruby Tuesday slogan is fun between the buns.
This one is
not joking. That supposedly is their slogan.
I feel like they're more steak than sandwich, though. It's not like Hillstone Group, is it?
No, I don't know.
It's growing.
It's on just so weird that they were like, let's name our song after that like lovely emotional song by the Rolling Stones. Like, who listens to Ruby Tuesday and is like, I'm hungry? You know, it's like, it's a good song, but it's this sort of like sweet, sad song.
If I can circle back, the jingle I was trying to remember was, let's do Outback tonight. It was the opposite. It's leading in. Okay, but legendary service, growing chain.
Yeah.
On the upswing.
I believe I read an article by my colleague Yasmin Tayeg, the great Yasmin, that it is the fastest growing sit-down chain in America right now.
But it's been around for a while. It's just having an upswing?
Yeah. I'm going to wrap this up.
Sure.
Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, was never going to guess that.
So topical.
Yeah. This is a real Texas Roadhouse of a movie.
Could be the name of the
main set.
We are talking about Blood Simple, the Coen's first movie, directed, of course, by Joel Coen and not Ethan Coen. I'm going to do that bit until Lady Killers. Right.
Yeah.
Which is set in Texas. And is a rather stripped down neo-noir. Did you detect, Griffin, that this film is a bit of a neo-noir?
You know what, David?
You know, there's noirs, but they're black and white, and Humphrey Bogart is there. But then there's the neo-noirs.
David, I know that you are the film critic by trade, and I'm not trying to one-up you, but here's an observation I made while rewatching the film. I'd almost call it a neon noir because of how much goddamn neon lighting there is in this picture.
It's a neon boot.
It's a neon boot.
That's the name of the bar.
Yeah.
Similar to Tech Noir.
Yeah.
The film kind of announces itself with the bar.
Yes.
So here we are. The Coen Brothers. Griffin, I'll start with you, but I'm going to ask everyone. So, Ben, you might have to steal Jordan's mic. Ben's here too, of course. When did you first get on board with the Brothers Coen, those Minnesota Jews?
It's a good question when I first got on board.
You know, if you're a cineast at the age that we are, teenage film fan in the sort of mid to late 90s, the Coens are dominant in terms of like, that's a director you find quickly, I feel like.
Right.
As you're growing up.
I feel like I was told from a very young age about their importance.
Right.
I'll build to a story briefly. Yep. It's synagogue, please. But then, try to think, my parents tried to show me Raising Arizona when I was fairly young, and I put my foot down and said, I don't get it. It's not funny. And then I feel like a couple years later, watched it and was like, I get it now.
It's quite funny, actually.
I was simply
pretty winning movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was maybe a little too young to watch it. I feel like Oh Brother must have been the first one I actually saw in theaters.
I think it's the same for me. I think it has to be. The Big Lebowski was rated 18 in Britain. I guess because of like toe severance. I don't really know why else.
Going on. I mean, there's a lot of F words in that movie.
No, but in Britain, you really only get an 18 for really extreme violence or any sexual violence.
If you say like, shag, then
they're like, oh, they're all hot and bothered. No, I mean, like, God bless the British rating system. Like, 18 really is supposed to signify like, this is a really, really violent movie.
Yeah.
Not so much like, oh, you might see a willy.
Can you circle back and repeat 18 because of toe severance?
It was rated like 18, I think, because of like the toe severance.
Stiller and Tarantino working on a picture together?
Wow. Really good.
An Apple
really
series,
good.
actually.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I think the first film I would have seen in theaters was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I would have been about 14, and I loved it. I'm just trying to remember if I would have seen any of the other ones before then. Maybe Raising Arizona? The first time I was aware of the Coens is when Frances McDormand won the Oscar for Fargo.
This, I was going to say, probably same for me. Yeah.
And my mom was like, oh, well, yeah, she was going to win. And I was like, oh, really? Like, you know, like my mom was like, oh, yeah, she had to win. And I was like, why? And she was just like, I don't know, man. Look at the clip. Like, she's a pregnant cop. It's just crazy. I'd never seen anything like that.
She did a really funny walk to the stage. Do you remember McDormand's walk for her first of 3 Best Actress wins? But she's not doing the like, oh my God thing. She does this sort of like, it's almost a postmodern sachet of playing being too cocky.
Wow, and Nicolas Cage is giving her the Oscar, so that's a fun group.
I think you're right that
so the clips from Fargo, and that's in the year that English Patient is dominating the Oscars.
So that's the first year I watched the Oscars live.
And English Patient seems like a movie that wins Oscars to me, where I'm like, yeah, it's set in the past and it's all orange and there's like, you know, war and important things happening. And then they're like Fargo, and I'm like, what's that? And my mom's like, Oh God, it's hard to describe. This is so, and it looked so different.
Even before her winning, the way they cut Billy, Mr. Crystal, into the Fargo clips in the opening montage, I think I had that same reaction of, what is this movie? Like, they were doing her puking on the side of the road.
Ooh, it is a strut. God damn. She looks like she's about to like push Cage off the stage.
It just felt
like she looks like she's entering the wrestling.
Yes.
She's doing like an elbow, a shoulder thing. Yeah.
It burned into my memory.
She's so hot.
But I feel like, to your point, like all
in a standing O.
Yeah.
All the big ones. Jim Carrey, Jeffrey Rush, Kevin Spacey.
I'm at this party.
Yeah.
That my parents had brought me to. And there was that same feeling of like, this was undeniable. This is her night. She's getting it. This is an anointment thing. And to a certain degree, also like an anointment night for the Coens, right? And I think I'm absorbing this context around me. But also in the Billy Crystal fucking montage, you're like, I get the bits for the other ones. English Patient looks really serious and Billy Crystal's coming in and doing something silly. Fargo was the only one where I was like, this almost has a Crystal tone to begin with. There are already jokes in this movie, but it's also violent.
What did you do for Secrets and Lies?
That's a really good question.
Oh, I got to rewatch those Oscars.
My parents met at the Deauville Film Festival in the north of France, where my grandmother used to work. And it was...
For listeners, is the French Film Festival that asks, what if we watched American movies in France?
Correct.
It is. That's what it is.
I will say, with as much respect as I can put on it, it is a festival that basically has no reason to exist anymore.
Except to create
Back in the day, it made more sense.
Well, but that's why I'm saying it no longer has a reason to exist. I've been made one time, and that's one time too many. We don't need another one.
Every year that festival is creating more Griffin.
This is a problem. It's unsustainable. We're flooding the economy. It was basically in an era where movies did not have global distribution, were sold off more piecemeal. Even big studio films were often being released by like local distributors. And it was basically like this fulcrum point between the big summer blockbusters and what were going to be the more serious fall movies, where the studios and independent films all went there. And it was like this one-shot final leg of a press tour. Bring all your stars to the north of France to a beach and have them promote the movie and get enough buzz that maybe then you're able to sell off the smaller European rights to these other films or use it as a launching pad before there were kind of global press tours. It was like a way to trick stars into having a vacation and doing one last batch of interviews or whatever. My parents meet there. My grandmother worked there for many years. I was trying to do the math on this. I think it probably would have been the second or third year my parents had then, after they met here, would go every year. It was
sure. Yes.
Basically for their anniversary, right? It is either the place where Blood Simple premiered or the second festival. IMDb lists something slightly earlier in the summer.
The USA Film Festival?
Which I cannot find any...
Well, the USA Film Festival was the progenitor to the Sundance Film Festival.
But it, by all accounts, premieres at Sundance the following January.
Did it premiere there?
Deauville would have been... Or, I'm sorry, not premiere.
Yeah, it doesn't premiere there.
It plays at Sundance the following January.
Correct. It had already done Deauville, TIFF, and New York.
Wasn't Toronto like a big turning point for the...
Yes. It's early in Toronto's shift from sort of the Festival of Festivals, which is what it used to be too, like the powerhouse.
Deauville happens like 1 week before Toronto, which is another thing that has killed that festival, as like Toronto and Venice have gotten even bigger. But it possibly was the first place it played, and at least it was the second. And my parents and their friend Susan, who was their best friend in the early 80s, would tell me all the time when I was growing up, them being there, looking through the brochure of all the movies and being like, the Coen Brothers? There's a noir film by Joel and Ethan Coen.
Hey guys, we made a noir movie.
And seeing these guys walk around, and for 5 days, this being their joke of yeah, we should go see Blood Simple. And then they went to see it and were just like, holy fucking shit.
I think one of the most
profound movie-going experiences my parents ever had, because they were like, we're mocking the idea of these guys and how shitty this sounds on paper. Why have two Minnesota Jews made a Texas neo-noir? And then seeing it and being like, who the fuck are these guys immediately? So I also grew up with that, where my parents would constantly just talk about the experience of a thing that basically no one ever got ever again. of like going into a Coen Brothers movie without any reputation, because right after this, it starts their run of basically playing festivals for like over a year and just building momentum.
And movies don't really do that anymore.
They don't.
So it looks like Billy started off with a Yoda scene because it was like Empire Strikes Back.
It was the re-release.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
And then he's on the phone with Jerry Maguire. He's shirtless. I don't mean to stun anyone here.
He's telling him to show him
and then he switches phones to talk to Brenda Blethyn.
Funny.
In Secrets and Lies.
Okay.
You know, and she's like, oh,
she's telling him
of Brenda Blethyn.
Some of the secrets and some of the lies.
Right. And then he's getting a hug from Armin Mueller-Stahl in
For
Shine.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Fargo. He's got he's got the cop outfit on.
Right. She's puking.
And then he's talking to Buscemi.
Okay.
Then he's back to Cruz in the locker room.
Okay.
Did
they do the wood chipper?
They did the total silence scene. Right?
Yeah, they did that scene. Then they have him. He's in the cave in the English Patient with Kristen Scott Thomas.
Nice work.
And then the thing I remember the most, they do the plane crash from English Patient, but it's Letterman going like,
Oprah Uma.
Oprah Uma.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
Got to bring it back.
And then he comes
My parents had to lean in and go, he did a bad job last year.
It's what he did last year. I saw the Letterman Oscars. Anyway, Blood Simple. It is one of the most undeniable debuts in film history, I would say. Where you're like, well, these guys surely have made 20 movies.
Yep.
To make something this like honed and precise and like sort of confident. And instead it's like, no, they're a couple of squirrely youngsters.
And I feel like when asked, they forever say, this is obviously our worst movie. It's clumsy and amateurish.
They say that?
Yes.
They rag on it endlessly. When they did the director's cut re-release, it was shorter.
Yes.
Because they were like, it was badly edited the first time. Yeah.
By them, obviously.
Right. They view it as like, well, that's the last time we're not going to get everything right. Because we were still learning.
Yeah, this is a great moment when they're going through like shot by shot with Sonnenfeld, where like Getz is sitting in a chair on the set of the apartment that the two lovers sort of on the run moved into. And he's just like sitting in a chair and like the wall is sort of like grayish blue and he's wearing a grayish blue denim shirt. And I think Joel just stares at the shot and is like, that wall is something that we're not going to be doing again.
Wow. Ray, Jordan, your Coen's experience, maybe you have covered this on the podcast a little bit, but
I'm trying to figure it out because Hudsucker was a big deal in my house.
Okay.
Sure. My mom's friend Sheila had one of the cable boxes where you could where she got all the channels.
Sure.
And then she would tape movies off of HBO and give them to my mom in the mid-90s.
Shout out to Sheila.
Yeah. And
Hudsucker
was a movie that we would watch a lot.
That was the first one you think you saw?
But I also
the closest
saw
thing to a family-friendly movie they made.
But I also saw Fargo in theaters and was like really blown away by it. And I remember just like feeling like it was the first adult movie going experience in a theater that I'd had in a very distinct way. Like just walking out of it being like, I can't breathe, like I've been holding my breath the last 30 minutes of this movie.
I'm going to argue you were too young for Fargo in theaters, Jordan. You're probably a couple years older than me, right? But still,
I was a minor.
I was 10 when that movie came out. And it was rated 18 again. Jeez. Maybe also because of the severance. Leg severance.
Fuck, who's
but the thing is, I'm not sure like which one of them we would watch, which I watched first. And I also don't think I knew that it was the same directors. I know that when Lebowski came out, I knew that was the next movie after Fargo, and I was excited to see that in theaters. And I saw moving forward, I feel like coming into the city to see a Coen Brothers movie a week or two before it went wide was like a big part of like my early New York City experiences because I like grew up right outside the city.
Yeah. To see the early platform release
of like Oh Brother or whatever. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was so aware of how much my parents revered them that even when like there was a new Coen movie coming out, like Lebowski, I was absorbing the sense of like people seem cooler on this one. Then saw Oh Brother in theater, which makes sense as like their most family-friendly movie since Hudsucker. And then after that, I think pretty quickly like watched every one of their movies on DVD or started that project and then would go see every one that came out. Here's another thing about them. For a very long time, they were once a year guys. They were like clockwork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where if you're a budding cinephile, it's really easy to be like, I can latch onto these guys. What's the next Coen movie? I'm filling in the backlog and I'm like looking forward to the future.
I would say they're kind of once every couple of years in terms of like the spacing between their movies. Yeah, they were very, very reliably working all the way up to, I guess,
mid-2000s, really.
Yeah, like it's really
2010s, rather.
Even then, it's like it's True Grit, Inside Llewyn Davis, Hell Caesar, Scruggs. That's 4 movies in that decade. Each of them about 3 years apart. Like it's like, you know, they worked very consistently.
Look, when they announced that their sabbatical from working together, I feel like that was the number one thing cited.
Yeah.
Was just like Ethan feels burned out.
It's been a lot. Right. And they would have side projects. They'd release fiction. They would do some stage stuff. Like it's like, yeah, they were busy. One of them should make a video game.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Thanks.
Ray, your history with the Coens?
I remember the Roma Pizza on 7th Avenue in the 90s was just a shrine to the career of John Turturro. It was just all signed John Turturro stuff. So I remember the Barton Fink poster in there, seeing that as a little kid, and my parents being like, this is a movie about a guy who can't write and is being attacked by a mosquito. So I thought the whole movie was just him v. mosquito. And then I remember seeing Hudsucker Proxy in a movie theater in LA, and my parents being like, wow, they blew it.
Right.
You know,
the general consensus on that one.
I mean, and like that being like an out of body experience, seeing that as a little kid, it's so heightened and cartoonish, and the whole hula hoop scene. I remember like all that stuff, like the, you know, for kids, like that totally landed on me as like an elementary school kid. Best joke I ever heard.
Right.
And then, yeah, saw Fargo in the movie theater with my mom and my sister. We were both super young, but it was like just a cultural event. And I think it was post Pulp Fiction. There was a sense that like, well, we can take them to this. Like we can't take them to Pulp Fiction, but we can take them to Fargo.
Pulp Fiction created a new bar of what isn't child appropriate, which then sort of on a curve made Fargo seem like more quaint. I mean, it's like, right. Fargo does have this weird amount of like Looney Tunes energy, and as violent as it gets, it's sort of a comedy of manners in the same way. Yeah.
It's a cultural portrait of like a particular type of, like a particular part of Minnesota. Like,
yeah, but just became obsessed with that. Saw a preview of Big Lebowski. Also, everyone at Big Lebowski was like, that sucked. Like at the first screening, and people were like, why wasn't that like Fargo?
People don't remember that.
I have this very distinct memory of like going over to dinner with my parents and my siblings to their friends, a couple with a young kid. We were all like eating pizza together or whatever. And they had just seen Big Lebowski and were just like, we are befuddled. Like, what are they doing? Why did they blow it? In the same way as Hudsucker of like, everyone just took them seriously and now they're doing some weird lark.
I remember at the time, there were like 1 to 2 critics in Britain who were like, psst, I kind of liked Lebowski. Like, and they were saying it in this way of like, I know this is crazy, but I actually think there's some stuff to that one, you know, like, and within really just 3 or 4 years, it had completely turned around.
I mean, it was like the DVD, like,
yes, the
Supernova
early DVD thing, right? But like that run of Lebowski to Oh Brother to Man Who Wasn't There, you know, like it's not like they were out of critical favor exactly, but it was kind of like, not another Fargo in these guys, huh? Like
I remember seeing this in the theaters for the first time when they did the re-release, Blood Simple.
2000, I think, right?
2000, the shorter version with the music that wasn't on the VHS put back in. I saw it at the Quad in an empty theater, just me, Joel Schumacher, and Joel Schumacher's assistant.
Wow.
The big three, we call them.
Incredible.
Well, Joel's got to keep their tabs on other Joels. They got to know what the Joels are cooking.
One of the nicest directors I ever met, Joel Schumacher.
I've told the story many times of him.
He was not so kind to you.
I asked him for a direction on how to play a scene in a fourth fucking callback I had for him. And he said, I think acting is a lot like fucking, where if you're asking for help for how to do it, you're probably doing it wrong.
And you were like, I do that all the time.
That's what I said. He didn't think it was funny.
His hair looked incredible.
His hair was beautiful. Unbelievable.
He had really amazing hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking that I probably saw this for the first time on the DVD release after the director's cut re-release, which means I've never seen the longer version.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is totally out of circulation now, or B, the VHS version of the longer version.
How much longer is the longer
3 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not just like they cut one scene out. They like tighten sequences and change shots, but it's a 3 minute shorter. But the VHS version uses Neil Diamond, "I'm a Believer."
Yeah, which is a great song.
It's the same old song.
Yeah, quite haunting.
Yeah.
I remember that re-release. I was sort of vaguely aware of the movie. I'm becoming vaguely aware of the Coen Brothers and all that. And the poster, obviously, for the re-release was the shovel. And I was like, so I confused this movie and another debut by a crimey filmmaker, Danny Boyle, Shallow Grave.
Oh, sure.
Right. Where I was like, man, in the 90s or whatever, like back in the day, people, right, we're digging shallow graves, I guess.
Casino also.
Yeah.
Casino. I mean, I just remember
Mystery Men. The Ratchet Shovel movies. Yeah.
And hey, that's William H. Macy.
Well, hang on.
Cohen's favorite.
Yeah.
Blood Simple. I'm going to read from the dossier. Joel Daniel Coen was born November 29th, 1953, a Thanksgiving boy. A plump Thanksgiving turkey.
You think he was plump?
No, I'm sure he came out a string bean.
He looks like fucking Spike from Peanuts. I know I invoked Spike recently on some other episode, was trying to explain Spike to Ben, but I was watching all these fucking special features last night and I was like, who does Joel Coen look like? And it just hit me like a ton of bricks now. He looks like Spike.
Yes. So he was born in 1953. Ethan Jesse Coen arrives in this world September 21st, 1957. They have an older sister, Deborah. Dad, Edward, was a professor at economics at the University of Minnesota. And they grew up in Minneapolis, right? Edward was born in the U.S., but he actually grew up overseas. His grandfather, Victor.
Okay.
So Edward's father was a barrister at the Inns of Court in London, of course. Order! See, I did do
for the listeners at home, David is wearing a powdered wig.
Yep. I remember when he retired, my grandparents went to live in Hove, which is a seaside town next to Brighton, I can tell you, exclusively. JJ didn't look it up. Embarrassing for him. Yep. And we used to live in there. My father actually grew up in London. I think he lived in Croydon. Purley is a neighborhood in Croydon, which is sort of South London suburbs. And he had very British tastes in movies. They would watch all the Ealing comedies and things like that. Cohen's mother, Rena, is a professor of art history at St. Cloud State University, which is another Twin Cities place. They're Ashkenazi Jews. They're from Poland, Russia. Edward was in the army.
You must be looking at the wrong dossier.
Yeah,
we're talking
Jewish.
The Coen Brothers now.
They are Jewish. I will tell you this now. I'll exclusively reveal to you that the Coens are Minnesota Jews.
The directors of True Grit.
Edward was in the army during World War II. And they were raised relatively traditionally, moderately strict. We, of course, will be wrestling with something that I'm sure you guys have wrestled with a little bit when you did your podcast. The Coens are a little taciturn, not huge on kind of discussing their motivations and interests. They'll do a lot of interviews. It's not like they don't do press.
We would like to gently debunk that.
Okay, go ahead.
Do it. I would say that they're not film professors, of their own work. But they've been pretty forthcoming over the years. I mean, there's many.
You guys have been delving through too. Yeah. Like you've been piecing it all together.
I think it's interesting that there's this received wisdom about them that they like won't explain their movies like kind of on the same level as David Lynch or something, where it's like, no, I'm not telling you anything. And it's like, I think it's mainly just because they sort of embed jokes and sarcasm into their answers a lot of the time.
Yeah,
like
they're Jewish. This is interesting. Jewish humor. Yes, go on.
Like in the preface to this book, like they give some advice to writers where they say, keep going until the work is boring to you, and then that's when you know to stop, because it's the sort of arena of the amateur who doesn't have the imagination to quit, who keeps going and going. And then like the question would be is that completely sincere advice, or are they fucking with the reader? But I do think that they they'll get on a Blu-ray and go through all of Blood Simple with Barry Sonnenfeld, like shot by shot by shot, talking about how they made it, what they were going for. So
Our buddy Sean Fennessy of The Big Picture was talking on some recent episode, but it was somewhere in the transition period coming out of Oscar season and going into 2025 movie preview, where he was comparing Brady Corbet to Paul Thomas Anderson, right? And he was saying, like, as we're getting out of this Oscar season, the thing I think that everyone's exhausted with is Brady Corbet, like, explaining the themes of his movie 8,000 times. And he was putting that in contrast to Paul Thomas Anderson, who never explains his movies at all. That when he goes and does press and he'll do long form interviews, he will talk and he'll talk openly about stuff. But the thing he doesn't want to tell you at all is how to read his movie, versus Brady Corbet being like, here's everything and this is exactly how I've intended it. Sort of right? What I'm going for here. And he was like, it's this thing that makes sense because Paul Thomas Anderson was totally like that when he started out. He was like such an early DVD commentary guy, such an early, I'm telling you all my ambitions for this and how I want it to be received. And I'm speaking of the frustration of the elements that are misunderstood and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, it makes sense if you're a certain kind of film nerd and you grow up like loving movies and then studying their construction and then like learning how to analyze them more deeply, that your greatest dream is to make a movie that people can read as deeply as you've read other films. And when these guys get the chance where they're finally in that sort of spotlight, it's very hard for them to resist the temptation to start that conversation themselves, which ultimately doesn't do the movie that much of a favor. And most guys learn to, as time goes on, back off and get a little more elusive. And what do you say versus what don't you say? I think what is unique about the Coens is like they have consistently been in sort of like old master phase from the beginning. There is no point in time where you're reading clumsy interviews with them where they're kind of exposing themselves.
I wonder.
Right?
I wonder if we'll dig up anything
like they
more.
have been from the beginning. And I think that's the difference is a lot of times when we do this show and JJ's digging through, you know, like the quotes from the first couple movies.
Digging through the shallow grave of quotes from the early films.
He's putting the shovel in the ground. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's a lot easier to find more information in the earlier stages of their career where they like haven't been as media trained, right? And they're like less guarded. And also they're willing to talk about these things like 25 years later with more distance. And the Coens like recut their own movie and have spoken extensively about this film. And it's not like they've disowned it or tried to make a mystery box around it.
And they didn't massively recut it. Sorry, just to jump in.
Yeah.
Like they tweaked it. They tightened it up. They didn't cut whole scenes or put whole scenes in.
It's this fascinating balance of them being like, yeah, we're like a little embarrassed by this, but we're also not distancing ourselves from it, right? And I was watching one of these things on the Criterion disc, and they just said the thing that they always say, which I think some people think they are using this to throw people off their scent. I believe with them it's genuine. And they were talking about their sense of structure. And Ethan said, like, I don't know what a 3-act structure is. Like, he makes a joke of like, I've heard rumors of this and I've never seen it myself, right? And he's like, I never think about that stuff at all. I think we've watched so many things and read so many things that to some degree we've internalized some innate sense of structure, but we never do that consciously. And then Joel says something to the effect of, our basic writing process is, let's come up with enough ideas that excite us that we're ready to start writing. Then we start writing and we're like, I guess it'd be cool if this happened next. And then they go, wow, feels like about time to wrap things up. That they like tend to write straight through from beginning to end. Once they just have enough ideas percolating and they're not thinking consciously about how to design these things like Swiss watches with the intent of people pulling them apart later.
That's hard to believe.
It is because their movies are so good and tight.
And they are very Swiss watch-like as well.
Right.
Like they're
That's why I don't believe them. I think I'm not calling them liars.
I feel like the big story we always heard is in Llewyn Davis. There's this part where he's driving past Akron and there's like an off ramp to go to Akron where he knows he's just found out his son is living, who he's never met. And they were like, we were writing it and we were like, oh, the off ramp for Akron's coming up. Is Llewyn going to take it? And they were like, no, he doesn't take it. And just as they were writing, they decided like that whole section of the movie is not going to happen.
Right.
Like
I love that.
They're not idiot savants, but the way they talk about their
sometimes
process,
present themselves a little bit as
feels maddening. Where you're like, are you guys just perfect instincts? How is that possible? And then they'll talk about how prepared they are in terms of shooting.
Right. They have an excellent reputation throughout Hollywood,
right,
for being incredibly good, on time, under budget, all that kind of stuff. Like very,
but
very
also that they're
sets.
like, right, very disciplined, very storyboarded.
The two-headed director.
Right. They're like, we see other directors who get the kind of buzz from showing up on set and not totally knowing what you're going to do. And that sort of pressure inspires them. And that's our nightmare. And we'll change the plan if something isn't working, but we want to come to this set knowing exactly how it should work. In contrast to the script seemingly coming out of just like, I don't know, it just like flows out of us and we ask ourselves the questions like, should he take the off-ramp? And then we just go from there.
Another good story in a similar vein is they wrote all of Fargo up until Steve Buscemi's character is, quote, humping the escort, and then could not figure out what would happen next, and like basically put it in a drawer for, 6 months or a year or something.
Yeah. Which certainly, that does seem to be sometimes part of their process. Like when they hit a wall, they don't ram into the wall. They're just kind of like, okay.
If it's not coming to us, then we have to put it aside until it makes sense.
Yeah. They wrote Barton Fink, I think, in the middle of trying to write Miller's Crossing. And they said that was kind of the birth almost of a new process where it was like, instead of trying to create a mousetrap contraption type script, it was like, this is one idea that just came out. Yeah.
Now, look, Ray, I don't know if you know this, but the Coens grew up in a kind of a boring suburban part of Minnesota called St. Louis Park. And Ethan said, I like this quote a lot. And this is a classic Ethan Coen quote to me. It was the suburbs, I cannot think of a single seminal childhood event.
I relate to that so much.
Right. Someone's like, come on, tell me something from your childhood that might inform, like, well, clearly your work is informed by your adolescence sometimes. And he's just like, yeah, I can't think of anything. 18 years blank. Joel says, Bob Dylan got out of Minnesota at an early age, and you can see why. These guys are really roasted Minnesota. They don't live there, right? They live in LA, I want to say.
LA, New York? Live in New York.
I don't know.
Bi-coastal.
Yeah.
Bi-coastal.
Okay. I feel like they're more New York, though, right?
Maybe.
I don't know. Where the winds blow?
Recommend everyone check out Pedro Cohen's Instagram page if you want.
I used to be on Pedro's. He was, because he was like, is he a bodybuilder or a model, or he's sort of like an aspiring kind of...
He's living the life.
He is living, that is the thing.
Yeah.
I remember Katie Rich, our mutual friend.
This is son of Joel and Francis.
Yes. Katie Rich was the one who got me into Pedro McDormand Cohen's great Instagram years ago. Anyway, so when the Coen brothers are growing up, they watched a lot of movies. Ethan, we saw a lot of Tarzan movies and Steve Reeves muscle movies. Cool. They liked comedies, kind of like British Farsi comedies.
Boing.
Yeah. Which is a great play and a kind of an okay movie. Bob Hope movies, Jerry Lewis movies, Tony Curtis. They like Doris Day movies. They like Pillow Talk. We didn't realize we were watching crap, is what Joel says. Like, they just loved movies. They get their hands on a Super 8 camera. They remade a lot of bad Hollywood movies. Their most successful in their memory are Cornel Wilde's Naked Prey and Otto Preminger's Advice and Consent. They said they didn't really understand. They would edit in camera, obviously. They didn't realize they could edit film physically by cutting it up and stuff. I'm not going to read all of this.
They also made a movie called Henry Kissinger, Man on the Move.
I was going to say.
That sounds good.
They bring that up at the Oscars when they win for No Country. I forget which of their 3 acceptance speeches.
My guess is directing,
but they say, like, when we were kids, we'd run around in the backyard with briefcases and make movies like Henry Kissinger, Man on the Move. And what's weird to us is that what we're doing now still feels exactly the same as that. And I do think that's part of their secret, and it's a benefit to being a team, and a team that knows each other so well and can communicate like wordlessly and has a shared reference base and interest base. And they always talk about watching movies together and reading books together and like being in tandem like that. Is that to some degree, I think they're trying to retain the purity of when they made movies as children and would just be like, what's interesting enough to us to be worth the effort of pulling together costumes?
There's a lot of play acting, like when they talk
and
about...
don't question it. Yeah.
People describing seeing them write the script, it's just the two of them. One's playing one character, one's playing the other, and they're just doing scenes together. When they talk about storyboarding it, they're getting up with their storyboard artist, J. Todd Anderson, all acting out the scenes.
Yeah, when we interviewed J. Todd, he said that the reason he got the job, or one of the reasons he got the job storyboarding Raising Arizona is because he was willing to act out the drawing with them.
Yeah, and there's even in this movie, there's like 40 to 50 shots, which are literally just starring the Coen brothers, shot by Barry Sonnenfeld. There's so many pickup shots in this movie, down to like that little drip of water. That's the very last shot of the movie. All the burial scenes, the fight scene out in the lawn. There was a lot of like
just like boots on the ground
stuff.
Like
in
anytime.
This movie.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I imagine the dossier is going to get to this, but like their meeting Raimi is so humongous.
Okay,
trajectory of both.
Okay, let me hit the gas on the dossier.
Okay,
just because this is a big episode.
But that's like a real Raimi filmmaking principle thing of just get the shot.
They go to Bard College at Simon's Rock for a minute, which is a sort of hippie early college where you can get in when you're 16 years old. But then Joel goes to NYU and studies film there. I wanted to keep making movies, and that was an easy school to get into, he says. Another description of time at NYU is our professors weren't famous directors. They'd made a career essentially in teaching. Joel, I was a cipher there. I sat in the back of the room with an insane grin on my face. I mean, that sounds funny. I do think, like, my mom has friends who, and one friend I'm thinking of in particular, who would always say, like, I went to NYU back when it was bad. You know, like NYU only became kind of the like insane powerhouse it became in like the 90s. It suddenly was cooler to want to go to New York for university.
It also needed a couple generations of successful graduates.
And then the film school, right.
There's a track record there. Right.
And Joel makes a short film there called Soundings, which is about a deaf person whose girlfriend fantasizes about someone else while she's making love to him. Have you guys seen Soundings?
That is not viewable?
Never even heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was new to me reading about it.
Okay, well, JJ just got rehired. I gotta tell you.
Then Joel went to a graduate film program at the University of Texas in Austin, and he married somebody and then got separated soon after and left the program after just a semester. Ethan went to Princeton and studied philosophy. Okay, King.
Our comrade, Melissa Tuckman, who has some affiliation with Princeton, has put in a request for Ethan Coen's thesis on Wittgenstein. So in 3 to 4 months, we may be able to read it from the archives.
That sounds fun.
It's 45 pages. It's the longest thing he wrote before the Blood Simple script.
That's crazy.
Well, that's like academic writing, It's
there's a lot of stuff about college. I'm going to move on.
JJ's fired again.
Yeah, they wrote their first scripts together while still enrolled in school. A movie they've written that was never produced was called Coast to Coast, which was sort of a screwball comedy. Ethan, for the plot details here, it had 28 Einsteins in it. The Red Chinese were cloning Albert Einstein. Okay. And then after they graduate, they move to New York City. And they feel like this is when they actually start to get to know each other. Like, obviously, 3 years difference when you're a kid is big. By now, they're both grown up and they become real pals, apparently. And Joel works as an assistant editor for Edna Ruth Paul. Ethan works at a temp agency as a typist. You were telling me, Ray, I think the data entry
at Macy's.
Eventually, maybe, right. And then Joel starts work on Sam Raimi's film, The Evil Dead, as an assistant editor. He'd been fired from another movie called Nightmare. And he says that Evil Dead's obviously an inspiration. A lot of stuff in our film, like the camera running up the front lawn, is Raimi inspired. Raimi's first impression of the Coens. Edna, our editor, says, you got to read these guys' scripts. And I go, oh God. Joel's Brothers was just a statistical accountant in Macy's at the time, and I thought it was probably going to be awful. And then I read it, and I thought, wow, these guys know how to write scripts. Okay, thank you, Sam. Really interesting.
Hey, I think it's interesting.
It is interesting.
What I think is interesting about thinking of that moment in time is like Joel has successfully started getting work in the industry.
He's doing film work.
He's bottom of the totem pole editing the lowest budget horror movies, but he is employed working on films. And then he's got this mystery brother with this day job who they keep saying like they write scripts together. Who on their face, I think were received the way my parents received the idea of like, who the fuck are these guys making a neon noir? But Raimi was one of the first to sort of like give him the shot, read it. noticed that they were good.
Yes.
And
obviously,
then I think what they're getting from Raimi in such a huge way is like, this guy just went out and fucking
that's
did
the
it.
thing. He had financed his movies by like bothering dentists in Detroit or whatever it is that Sam Raimi did. And they were like, well, we could probably do that.
Right. Like, can you get like 60 financiers who each are contributing less than $10,000? And if you can just keep knocking on doors, you might have enough to make a movie.
Now, Raimi had essentially made a short film called Within the Woods. That was his proof of concept. They decide to do something similar. So over 3 days, they shoot sort of a trailer for Blood Simple.
Right. It's
they rent a camera.
Did you watch this, David?
Yes, I did.
You guys, I'm sure, have
legendary.
Seen it.
Yeah.
It's basically...
and of course, most famously, Bruce Campbell is in it.
He's playing the Emmett Walsh analog, or is he Hideo?
He's playing Marty.
Yeah, he's playing the Dan Hideo.
But in it almost seems like they have the Visser character, because the guy who's playing the guest character has this like long fur coat on.
He's a cowboy.
Yeah.
He's like much more of a cowboy. Like he's got, kind of looks like the cowboy in Mulholland Drive.
Seriously.
Actually.
Yeah.
You basically, Monty Montgomery, you basically don't see actors' faces in this. They were like, our thing is, rather than make a proof of concept short film, let's make a trailer as if we have made the finished film. Because correctly, they were like, no one wants to read shit. Both like people in the industry and dentists who will maybe give me a couple $1,000 don't want to read shit. They said they had the script and only one guy actually read it, who was a urologist, and he handed them back the script and it was covered in blood.
I think he invested though.
He did invest. But he was like, if you say to people like, hey, can I show you something? And we showed up with a 16 millimeter projector. They shot the trailer on 35. But then they like knocked it down to 16 so that it was in a format that was easy enough to then like prop up and show people.
Super cool, because you can walk in with a little 60 millimeter projector that's like a suitcase, like a little briefcase.
And we're like, this will just get people's attention. And they would like book screening rooms in New York City. And they were like, well, we know you usually charge by 2-hour blocks. How much can we get 15 minutes for? And then just like funnel people in and out and show them this thing. The trailer is even more Raimi than the final movie.
Yes.
But they talk so much about, I mean, I think
it's got the shovel. It's got the bullet holes through the wall.
Right, the Raimi cam.
But I mean, it has images that are going to be, pivotal to the feature.
You don't really see any actors' faces because they hadn't cast people.
No.
But they're like showing you some of the images they have in their head. And then they're doing kind of crazier Raimi camera work. And what's also interesting is it feels more horror than the final film. And they talked about like Raimi was their model of this working, but we also saw other people getting to make horror movies at this number. It felt like the easiest way to get a little bit of money was horror was seen as a safer return on investment that didn't cost a lot. And so they're finding this midpoint in their mind between like, we're interested in like Dashiell Hammett type stuff. Can we like find the way to mash that up with horror that will trick people into giving us money?
The final image of the trailer is the moon looms up and turns red.
It's pretty cool. The tagline, just to clarify, is Julian, whatever. What's the last name? Come on.
They might have changed his name in the trailer.
No, it is Julian Marty thought he had hired the murder of his wife, but in Texas you get what you pay for. Blood Simple. Anyway, they do, and Sonnenfeld's obviously involved, raise about $500,000, which is pretty crazy. They say the movie eventually ended up costing about $750,000. Back in the day, to be clear, it was fucking hard to fund the tiniest movie because film shit is so expensive. And you can't just put things on an iPhone or whatever. They raised the movie money in New York, as the screening room thing you were just talking about. And they wanted to make an entertaining movie. Like, this trailer is for an entertaining movie. It's not like we're going to make an art film. It's like we're going to make a fucking thriller.
This Eggers talk, he kept asking them where it came from, and they were just truly like reverse engineered from what feels like the easiest to get financing for, what feels like the easiest to sell people on actually going to see in theaters, what gives us the greatest chance of return on investment. And they were like, our two overriding goals were make our first movie, just knock down that door and have made a film was one, and two was not fuck it up to a degree that we can maybe get to make a second film. But this like isn't coming out of any burning like we had the most incredible idea for a story. or this is something we want to say. It's what's so fascinating about this movie is that they were just sort of like trying to find the midpoint between what interested them and what they thought would work as a calling card.
Now, I would say this film is coming out during a neo-noir boom. I don't know if you guys would agree with that.
They're very conscious of body heat while they were prepping this movie.
That makes sense.
Things that they thought were kind of cheesy in body heat that they wanted to avoid.
Yeah, they didn't want like halation filters on the lenses.
Right.
They want things to look really sharp.
Right, yeah. Because body heat, it's kind of a sweaty movie. Have you guys picked up on this with that one? It's kind of got this kind of like sweaty, sexy thing going on.
Was a result of the body heat.
So hot.
Yeah.
And you know, the Bob Raffleson Postman Always Rings Twice remake, which is like, to me, the epitome of kind of a bad neo-noir, no offense to it, where it's kind of just like, you know, that kind of like sexy noir. What if they like fuck and we see it?
Right,
and it's kind of like, you know what?
Yeah.
Sometimes things should be left to the imagination. Like that's the magic of noir, right? But there's lots of good noir, and there's like Thief, and then there's stuff like Blade Runner, you know, that is sort of adjacent or whatever. But they are like, we're not really inspired by those kinds of movies. We're more inspired by like the literature that those kinds of movies are inspired by. So James M. Cain is obviously the number one guy they reference for Blood Simple. Obviously, guys like Chandler and Hammett as well. But Cain is the big thing. But they're not making a whodunit, like many a noir obviously has that as the driving plot thing. They're just making a double cross movie, I guess.
Although in some sense there is a whodunit aspect to it, just because the characters are so confused.
The characters definitely do not know who done pretty much anything in this movie.
It's not a whodunit, it's a what happened.
Yeah.
Right?
What the fuck is going on?
It's everyone trying to make sense of what's happening around them and then coming to the wrong conclusions about what they think led to that.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of a whodunit. It's
Right.
like, you know who did it and they don't.
But you don't understand what they did or why. And everyone's just reacting.
So James M. Cain, just to be clear, wrote A Postman Always Rings Twice. Anyway, so they make this movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
M. Emmett Walsh was it was written for him. You know, they'd seen him in Straight Time. And
he said he was, he'd gotten into a fight with his reps shortly before this, because he found out about some other projects that had been offered to him that they passed on without telling him. So he said, any single thing that comes in for me, you have to send it to me immediately. I want to make the decision. But it's one of those things where like the timing is perfect for this script to hit his eyes. A month earlier, he never would have seen it. And maybe 2 months later, he would have been like, actually, you can start filtering shit again. But it's like right at the time where he's like, any single thing that comes in the mailbox for me, I'm looking at. And he just says like, why not? Like truly,
right. He's like, why not? He says they were horrible at directing actors because they never worked with actors before. A way he puts it that I think is really funny is Joel would be like, why don't you look over there? And he'd be like, why am I looking over there? And they'd be like, just humor me. Just fucking look over there. You know, like they weren't good at like talking.
His response was, I'm humoring you by being in this picture.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
He insisted that they pay him in cash because
this
he thought
whole
the
damn
checks
movie
would bounce.
is just to humor you, he said.
Yes.
It's just funny. It's so Coen's or whatever. It's so like for them to be like, I hope we can get Emmett Walsh. Like that's the coup for them.
Totally. But he's being paid in $100 bills. Most of the money you see him waving around in the movie is his salary for the movie, where he was just like, A, I'm taking cash because I don't think these guys are good for it unless I have it in hand. And B, I don't want to leave the cash they're giving me in my hotel room because I'm worried that the staff will steal it.
Sonnenfeld having no filter was like, you were paying him $4,000 a week. So then you have to imagine by like week 3, he's walking around with $12,000 in cash.
But you
stuffed
see it.
Into his,
you can see the outline of like bills all over his wardrobe. He's wearing his entire salary in every shot of this movie.
So Fran McDormand is in the film, and Joel Coen, I don't know if you guys know this, actually ends up marrying her. They have a long relationship. You guys aware? Okay.
Can we double check that?
And he was going to a lot of theater, trying to find people who are interesting. He sees Holly Hunter in a play called Crimes of the Heart. And they want Holly Hunter. Good taste.
Yeah.
And of course, they'll end up working with her.
She's in this film,
she's on
too.
the phone.
She's on the phone.
Yeah.
You might notice her voice. She's got a bit of a distinctive twang. And she's like, I'm doing another play. I can't do your dumb movie.
But you know who you should look at.
But I am roommates with Fran. They were living in the Bronx. Make me a movie about Holly and Fran in the Bronx, by the way. And Kathleen Bates.
The third roommate.
And Fran had barely done anything. Dan Hedaya.
I always say Hedaya.
I got it right. Just came in and they were like, yep. Ethan says, quote, you know it when you see it. Joel, I don't think we could have imagined the quality that Dan would have brought to it. I don't know where Dan Hedaya is in his career then.
I think Cheers is in 84. I think 84 is a big year for
it's
Hedaya.
Like all about to start happening.
Yeah, because he's in Buckaroo Banzai the same year as Blood Simple, and he'd just been in the Hunger. I mean, like, he's a guy who plays a lot of cops. Like, hello, Jordan. You don't have to raise your hand. You can just interrupt us. We just talk all the time.
We interrupt each other.
Yes.
They have said also that they wrote this character with Martin Scorsese in mind.
Interesting.
If you imagine his entire character being an extrapolation of
the Taxi Driver.
Scorsese's character in Taxi Driver.
Yeah. Hidea's my favorite performance in this movie. I think he's
really fucking
extraordinary.
Yes.
I find it to be like...
I mean, Emmett Walsh is awesome.
He's awesome.
It's an iconic work.
That's iconic is the thing. But I'm like, and no disrespect, no backhand to Emmett Walsh. I think what Hedaya is doing in this is so fascinating. I find it so deeply affecting. It is a performance that truly haunts me.
When he's on the ground and he's crawling around, like, I think we watched it like on a big screen at Ray's office, and it was just like,
off big screen, Ray. All right.
I think Ray just turned to me and was like, what he's doing right now is so incredible. Just like how wounded he is, like how pathetic he is. Like,
but at the same time, he's like an animal. And I don't mean that in like he's got a hairy chest. Okay, fine. But like there's something just sort of like primal about him.
There's like taxidermied animals. There's taxidermied animals all over his house. And he has a dog. Like, there is something like it's an association with him.
The Speedo shot or the still photo.
Yeah.
What do you mean Speedo? He was wearing a 2-piece black wool bodysuit.
He's wearing one of those old fashioned bathing suits that's like covers your whole body.
Just made out of Brillo pads.
Yeah.
We just did Clueless very recently on this podcast. And Amy Heckerling said her whole thought was, I want to cast someone who would usually play a hitman as Cher's father, right? It is like the inverse of this. This guy seems so intense and so menacing and so criminal. To have him play like a sweetheart lawyer, but speaking with that level of gruffness and intensity to his daughter will be very funny. Hedaya just looks intense when he shows up, right? It's not just his physical appearance, but also like his energy, literally his eyes and everything. Cheers this same year. He's just like, come on, come on, like yelling everything.
Speaking of criminal, his performance in Dick as Richard Nixon, criminally overlooked.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you weren't accusing him of being a criminal, because he tells you that he is not a crook, in fact, in that movie. Rewatching it this time, I had the specific thought of what is interesting about Hedaya, both the character as written and his performance, is that it's sort of an anti-Sidney Greenstreet, right? Where it's like, here is the guy in the prime position of power within the structure of this movie. This is a very small movie with a very tight cast, and the most capital anyone has is owning this bar and also having someone legally tied to them in marriage, right? And yet from the beginning, this guy has no effect on everyone around him.
It's true.
Like, he holds the power. He does, undeniably. And yet everyone's like, shut up. Fuck you. Fuck off, right? Like, no one respects him. No one takes him seriously. And also, he like the failed attempt to pick up the woman at the bar.
Sure. Yeah. Everything he does kind of fails.
It fails. Right. It's like, here's a guy who actually, it's not that he's Sidney Greenstreet in his mind. It's that he is technically occupying that role. And yet he is so uncomfortable in his own skin. He is so self-loathing. He is so sensitive, really, right? Like, everything like hits him that he cannot like sell the confidence of his actual position in a way that makes other people allergic to him. Like, people are grossed out by him.
That scene is a lot longer in the shooting script. And he's like, hey, do you want to go see the Oilers and the Rams at the Astrodome with me? And like Maurice comes by and he's like, just give me the usual. And Maurice brings him a glass of milk and he's like, no, come on. And then like Maurice goes to pour out the glass of milk in the sink. He's like, no, pour it back in the bottle. It's this extended,
it's almost like a Mikey and Nikki's kind of scene.
What's also that he clearly goes like, I know how a guy like me is supposed to act. He walks into the bar and then just goes up to a woman and basically says like, you're fucking me now. And he cannot sell it. And she just goes like, no, thank you. And he takes a second stab at it where he's like, I don't think you understood what I was saying. And she's like, yeah, I'm not interested. And you can see him short-circuiting that he doesn't know how to like handle this. And yet this is probably every fucking night of his life, right? Like this kind of archetype of like the gangster with the wife who hates him, who he finds out is having an affair, and it like sends him into a spiral of jealousy where there is always the like, yeah, but this guy's fucking everybody. He's not angry that his wife is disloyal to him because he believes in the sanctity of marriage. He's just jealous in a way that he can't control. And this guy's even more pathetic where it's like he wishes he was fucking other people and he can't pull it off. So part of it is just like, I'm jealous and possessive, and also I can't make anyone else fall for me. I tricked this one woman.
Right. He's the most small time version of, right. Like, he tricked one woman. Yes.
So then Emmett Walsh says that when he got the script, he was like, oh, is this my chance to do a Sidney Greenstreet thing?
Right. I mean,
so he reads the character as like, well, I'm in sort of like middle-aged. I'm like probably going to transition the later start. Like I need to start thinking about who I want to be on screen in my 60s and 70s. Is this a chance to sort of do this? And it's the opposite where it's like, can you like have a guy who on the outside seems like Buffalo Bob from like the Howdy Doody show is dressed like the man in the yellow hat, right? But like inside he secretly is this kind of like menacing heavy. And so you have these two guys circling each other who both have this disconnect between how they read to other people and their actual power within their lives. And Hedaya is just like so sad. It is such a sustained, like controlled,
angry, sad, coiled
energy.
Yeah.
It is my favorite moment in this entire film is just him having to walk past the like Lovers Rock lineup of teenagers all laughing at him.
Incredible.
With his finger in like the little sling. Yeah.
And they notice it and they bully him.
Right. And you're just like, there's so much in the inherent dynamics of like, why is Emmett Walsh asking this guy who's about to hire him to do a hit to meet him at like the teen makeout point? And Emmett Walsh with his Beatles somehow is like able to at least get these kids to humor him. This woman's like, this young girl's talking to him for 30 seconds. And like the second Dan Hedaya enters the space, everyone's like, shut the fuck up. Fuck you.
He's a bit off-putting. As much as I love Dan Hedaya, the actor, if I met this character, I might not want to hang out with him.
But it's the anger and the sadness and the fact that he's not able to even like cover it up with bluster. He is uncomfortable because you're just like, Jesus Christ, this guy's an open wound. And it's all ugly.
We haven't mentioned John Getz yet. Mm-hmm. What do we think of John Getz?
I mentioned him by name.
I know, but like we haven't really. This is one of his earliest performances, obviously, and he does not go on to fame in the same way as everyone else. But he's a pretty reliable working actor. We talked about him on Social Network, even where it's like he's become a pretty reliable older,
he's
older
always
guy.
Great, yeah. But it is funny because he's right. He is ostensibly the lead of this movie. And yet
yes, sort of, although not, it sort of is a cipher.
I think his highest points are like post burying Marty the morning, that look on his face, like, oh my God, I've just buried someone alive. I think he's very, very good at conveying that feeling. But I feel like if you look at Brolin in No Country for Old Men, you just see like, okay, what is this like a masculine guy, but like with, some charisma. With some like Burt Reynolds charisma added to it.
They are obviously, they have the benefit of starting with the Cormac McCarthy book on No Country, but it's why I kept thinking about that movie while watching this one is like, by that point, 20 years later, they know how to make the guy at the center interesting, even when it is this kind of blank slate tack turn, like, right.
Yeah, because I didn't notice until the rewatch for this that like that first scene is them telling each other that they have an attraction. Like that's the beginning of their relationship is the first scene. That's the first time they hook up when he takes a photograph of them. And I don't feel like you feel that through the like the way they're behaving towards each other.
And it's important for the setup of the movie to know that they are tentative around each other.
Yeah.
So it's
he just inherently doesn't have leading man energy. And I don't say that in a negative way. There are movies I think of, like One from the Heart, where like casting Frederick Forrest is like a disaster because you're like, he needs to be in the Harry Dean Stanton role. And this guy trying to play leading man is like throwing the entire movie off its axis. And like Getz is not like that at all. It feels probably like they wanted that out of him, where it's like part of the intrigue for them is placing just some guy in the middle of a movie like this who is not carrying himself like a noir leading man. That part of it is that this is the one guy who like halfway through is like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? I don't want to be in this film. But they also said like a big thing about this movie that makes it such a miracle, and the way you were saying, David, of like, where the fuck did these guys come from? How is this not their 15th film? Is that they basically establish their key crew all from film one, right? Like they have Skip Leavesay, and they have Sonnenfeld, and they have Carter Burwell, and they have Frances McDormand.
Wonderful score, like perfect Carter Burwell, minimalist theme, like that you can't shake.
So melodic.
They find so much of the team like right there from the beginning. And Skip Leavesay, who's their like incredible sound artist, and works on every one of their films,
and who has a pretty cool name. Let's just say
phenomenal name. Yes. He is maybe the most established of everyone they're working with.
He brings in Carter Burwell,
right?
Yeah,
he knows Carter Burwell just as like a music friend.
Is this just
half
one of
music,
those...
half animation?
Right,
at that point.
Right.
Is it like everyone's coming aboard, and the more people that get added are kind of like, oh, these guys seem to know what they're doing. Hey. Come aboard, Ray. No,
everyone's like surprised. It turns out as well as
Okay, everyone is kind of like, all right, maybe this is just a dumb lark that we're doing.
Because Leavesay is like working on big movies in lower positions, but he like actually has some stature as a sound guy, if not being the lead sound guy.
He's got a resume,
right? Yeah. He had a little more of a like, I thought the script was interesting. It's worth taking a chance on these guys. I think the Carter Burwell thing is like, this guy's smart. Maybe I can like throw him a bone. I think they might get along well.
Carter Burwell was doing animation, and he was in this band called Thick Pigeon. I went and listened to the Thick Pigeon album that he recorded in the middle of doing this score.
Thick Pigeon.
Just like with like guys from New Order, and just really like an experimental. He said he just wrote all of the melodies off of watching 20 minutes of the film. And basically they tried to hire, I think, 3 other people first, and then they came back to him. Yeah.
I mean, he showed up with that melody. I can't imagine, Like it's interesting though, because the music he made is like what I listen to is a lot more like monotonous and intentionally atonal than his film scoring work, which is really very appealing. Like so melodic.
They did this sort of like bake-off audition thing, right? They asked him to come in with some stuff. He came in with like 10 different pieces. The melodic piano thing was one of them. But there was more electronic stuff and more conventional thriller score stuff. And they were like, we like that. Can we work on that more? And he gave them a bunch of stuff. He was just like, there wasn't a traditional spotting section. I was like watching a cut, and they were sort of like, I guess that's 60 seconds we need there. I gave him a bunch of stuff, and they re-edited it and placed the music in different places than I had intended. And he was like, I was angry at them. I was too inexperienced to actually get upset about it. But if that had happened to me on a studio film, I probably would have made a bigger stink in a way that would have killed my entire career, versus like trusting them long enough to see that it ultimately worked out in everyone's favor. But it feels like everyone's relationship to them was like that. And Emmett Walsh was like, I don't know what these fucking guys are doing. But the thing Skip Leavesay said was like, reading the script, it was so sparse. It was like so tight. There was like no emotion in it whatsoever in the way the characters are written. And he's like, any sort of emotional nuance in that film is what the actors brought to it. Like there was kind of nothing on paper for Fran's character. And she came in and filled all this stuff. And it feels like it teaches them this lesson of like, we got to give actors room to work and like fill in those gaps.
That strikes me as a thing that so many young directors have to figure out how to actually work with actors.
And then, so they're seeing like, oh my God, she's finding stuff where we didn't give it to her. And then they said about John Getz, they were like, we watched the movie now, and they're like, wow, we were doing him no favors. We gave him nothing to play. The character is basically just an audience surrogate in a thriller, which means he needs to be behind the 8 ball. He has no idea what's going on. The whole movie is watching him walk into rooms silently and trying to figure stuff out. And they were like, we think he's really good. And as time goes on, we're more and more grateful for the favor he gave us of like doing that well in a way that informed us that we need to actually give actors more playable things from now here on out.
He also has a really big challenge in the last third of the movie, because they set up this idea that Yuri says to Abby, stay away from Ray, he's gone crazy. And so it's a challenge for the actor because he's got to seem completely bewildered, trying to reach out to her, trying to protect her from like whatever sort of like unclear threat there is. But also he has to play it in a way where he's giving her the like crazy hooks to grab onto, where she can misread one of his signals and be like, oh, actually he might be the person who wants to kill me. So like, that's tough. That's I would imagine that that's really hard.
And play. I think what he does very smartly is, rather than playing like a movie version of crazy, he is playing the sort of slow burn shock of having killed a guy and watching a guy die, right? Like there's some sort of like delayed trauma bomb happening within him that is just making him seem a little unhinged.
And the big thing he's playing is, you know, Marty early on goes like, at a certain point, she's going to say to you, like, I'm not doing anything funny. And it's like, when she says that to him, that's the moment that he stops trusting her. They lose faith in each other, basically.
But I mean, our beloved producer, Ben Hosley, always talks about, who's not on mic as much in this episode.
We don't have enough microphones.
Adjust the microphone over to Jordan. But Ben, you love to talk about the Bag Full of Money movie that makes you think, if I were in this, I'd do everything right and I'd end up owning an island, right?
Right. Yeah. So you hire an assassin in this movie. Like, I would hire a good assassin who would do his job, and then we would shake hands and part ways.
I mean, I wouldn't hire this guy.
You don't want to hire me? I can't do him either. You don't want to hire like Porky?
As soon as I saw like 4 flies on his face, I'd be like, no, thank you.
The movies that I feel like you often point to and say, I would know how to do this better, are the things like A Simple Plan, where like a very kind of like all-American button-down milquetoast guy starts like his morals slip away. He starts losing perspective and judgment, getting caught up in his own, like, how do I maintain this? How do I hold on to this? Now you're killing more people and all this sort of shit, right? And you're like, I would just be normal.
Cool as a cucumber.
John Getz in this feels like the opposite, where you're like so used to the movies like this making people get into this like Walter White-esque slipping into a like morass of evil to hold on to what they have. And instead, this guy, the more things get bad around him, the more he's just like, oh, fuck, I hate this. I hate being here, right? Like he's fucked up too deeply to ever fix it. But he's not doubling down on it and making it worse in a certain way. Obviously, he kills Dana Dea, right? But like the last 20 minutes, he's just sort of like, I don't know what the fuck to do anymore.
Why does Visser do what he did? Do what he do?
Because Dana Dea insulted him.
Yeah, because Dana Dea is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, it's just a lot of trouble in the 80s to be photoshopping, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, he has to do that by hand.
Like, manual photoshopping, like drawing little blood stains on people.
He might have even used his own blood.
Maybe he did.
Drip, drip.
Because, like, this is a movie where nobody's like, hey, this is why I'm doing this, by the way. Not that I need anyone to do that. I don't want that. I don't want some villainous monologue or whatever.
And the first time I saw it, I remember being confused when Getz shows up again, where I was like, I thought they were dead.
Right.
I fell for his
thing. Right.
Yeah.
Ben, before you hand the mic back, I forgot to ask you, your Coen Brothers thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are your first Coen Brothers guys?
They are filmmakers my dad really loved.
That checks out.
Yeah. Like Fargo was a favorite of his.
Look, all of us being like 80s, 90s kids, it checks out that we all have the same story, which is my parents told me these guys were important.
Absolutely. The Coens were one of those filmmakers that they did talk about.
Because also they're like, quote unquote, serious movies that are entertaining and funny. Like, as much as they were seen as like, these guys are high artists and this is like highfalutin shit. On the other hand, it's like, it's silly and it's exciting. Here's the basic plot overview of this movie. Because it's not like it's told out of order. It's not like a Memento style obfuscation, but they just withhold certain information from you at certain times. As much as it is like following to the basic thriller playbook of like the audience needs to be a step ahead of the character So the tension comes from us knowing the thing that they don't know and being worried about how it's going to go down. This movie does withhold key bits of information from the audience as well. So it takes a while to figure out even what has gone wrong. But John Getz is having an affair with Frances McDormand, who is married to Dan Hedaya, who is a pathetic man who owns a bar. She wants to leave him for her. He has hired a private eye who has found photos of them sleeping together. In a fit of rage, I think spurred on even more by the fact that he cannot fuck anyone else. That he's the man.
Revenge.
Let's say the man is rizzless.
Mm-hmm.
There is an astonishing lack of riz in this guy. Decides to put a hit out on the two of them to get his ultimate revenge. He makes this mistake of sort of lightly mocking Emmett Walsh, who tries to present himself as almost like the Andy Griffith Show version of a private eye assassin, right? Like he's couching everything in this sort of like folksy cuteness. So when Hedaya takes a swipe at him, you assume, is this guy so kind of oblivious and good-natured that it's just bouncing right off of him? Instead, he breaks into their home, takes a photo of them sleeping, and manually, basically hand tints it.
He photoshops it in the literal original meaning of the verb.
To make it look like he has murdered them in bed, that there are bloodshots on the sheets, which then his plan is to then just rob Hedaya, take all his money, which he knows the location of when he goes to get paid.
He also steals Abby's gun, which is basically a frame. He's doing that to frame her, and
that'll tie it all up, essentially. It's like, this was a lover's quarrel. That's what happened here.
But when you're asking why he does it, it's like the ego is bruised. He has the line later where he repeats the thing that Hedaya said to him about like looking dumb or something like that.
He says now it looks stupid, which I've watched the movie a few times. I don't think that Hedaya never calls him
dumb. No. Visser is the one who says you look like an idiot, or I think you're an idiot. But my read on it is he just thinks that Marty is not trustworthy, that this is not a good guy to keep a secret with. And so it's actually cleaner to take the money from him, frame the lovers, and leave. And then it's a totally tied up.
But also Hedaya,
and they have no idea who he is. Like
Hedaya in that car scene isn't like flat out insulting him, but he is doing snarky under his breath shit. And he's giving him an attitude that is clearly, I think you're dumb and I'm smart.
He's treating him like shit. I mean, when he gives him the money, he pushes across the table with his boot.
Yes.
You know? And he is like, don't come for me.
But it's the No Country, it's the Fargo thing. It's the like all this for a little money that they're obsessed with, which is like the promise of such a small amount of money can make people lose their fucking minds. Where you're just like, this is absolutely not worth it.
The other thing too is I don't think this is the point where Visser fully decides to do it, but it might be the moment that makes him cross the threshold is when Hedaya says, I put a call in and the less you need to know about it, the better. And at that point, if I'm putting myself in the detective's mind, I'm thinking, oh, he's involved with the mob. He got funding from somebody who now understands the workings of this situation, which is funny too, because what he actually did is he put in a call to Maurice being like, you stole the money from the safe.
Right. It's one of those things where watching it the first time, you think, is there a bigger conspiracy going on here that's slowly going to get unfurled? And instead you realize this guy just made too big of a play, right? Was just sort of like, I don't trust this dude. And I guess I could make 5 times as much money if I just kill him. And I think my plan is foolproof and no one will see through it.
Don't hire a hitman.
Yeah.
Because they kill people.
They do.
So they could kill you.
This is an interesting take, David.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it's like they're already comfortable killing people for no particular reason.
This is very similar to the beat in No Country too, where they go out to visit the scene of the firefight and Sugar just shoots those 2 guys that have hired him. And you're like, why? Why is this movie about this hitman suddenly about a hitman who's going total chaos mode?
And I always forget that he kills those 2 guys. Although the interesting thing about Visser is he doesn't really come off as that psychopathic. Like when you realize that he didn't actually kill them and he did these fake frame job photos, it sort of feels like, oh, this is a guy who will choose the sort of more weaselly fake out path as opposed to like actually just pick up a gun and shoot somebody. But then he immediately picks up a gun and shoots Marty. So.
Right. And the other big mistake he makes is thinking that he's dead, right? Which is another thing the Coen said was like a big animating idea for them in this movie. And I think it comes a lot out of Joel editing horror films, watching what Raimi's doing, seeing that like grow as its own sort of cottage industry of the 80s horror films and whatever in the early part of the decade. He was like, all these movies present it like killing people is like one move and it's done. And obviously sometimes you shoot someone point blank in the head and they like fall down and it's over. But even some of the like trailers and marketing materials for this movie use the tagline of like death takes a lot longer than you'd think or something like that. That was their big set piece idea, was like, can you have a guy who thinks that he's closed off the loose end and killed a guy, but in reality it's 15 minutes of the movie that are going to have to silently play out with like, fuck, this is taking longer than I thought.
I think there's some versions of this movie that have an opening title card that talks about like a quote from like Hemingway or something about like how hard it is to kill somebody.
Actually easy. Shoot him right in the head. Bang.
Which
Problem
I'm sure
solved.
You guys know this, but the opening Emmett Walsh narration, which I butchered, was not in the script. They had him having the final line at the end of the movie. They put it together and they were like, feels like it kind of needs something at the beginning. And he was like, we just wrote that. We just came up with something. We brought him in to do ADR, handed him 2 pages of paper. He read it cold one time. And I think part of it was that like they don't tend to make movies with conventional narrative structures where you're following one character the entire time. They're so into ensembles and they're so into sort of the arc of the movie is the incident rather than you following one character through incidents. It's like, how does this incident progress and affect everyone around it? And Carter Burwell, when he lands on this like piano melody, they go, oh, fuck. All these scenes of characters in silence, and we have this movie that already has these open spaces and people looking and listening and considering. If we're playing the same theme across all these characters, it does start to bring them together. It like unifies them in a mood and a feeling. And I think they have the same thought of like, if we put Emmett Walsh saying something at the beginning, what it is almost irrelevant. It starts to bookend it and frame it a little bit more as this guy's worldview. Roger Ebert, when this film came out, not to put Hosley on blast again, but this is, I think, what is the most potent idea in this movie. He said, a lot has been written about the visual style of Blood Simple, but I think the appeal of this movie is more elementary. It keys into 3 common nightmares. 1, you clean and clean, but there's still blood all over the place.
Right. A Shakespearean nightmare.
2, you know you have committed a murder, but you're still not sure quite how or why.
That is really true.
That's great.
Right. That you're like, I think he's dead. And I think someone did it, but I don't know where the body is or what happened.
Classic Ebert observation.
And 3, you know you have forgotten a small detail that will eventually get you into a lot of trouble.
You're obsessively overthinking, like, but did this, yes.
Now, the lighter, yeah. I mean, the Visser leaving his lighter is like...
Now, Ebert saying those are the 3 common universal nightmares seems to imply that we all think about killing people all the time.
Oh, gosh.
But what I actually think he's saying in a Hosley way is that we all watch movies like this and start to think, could we pull it off?
And it's just about deceit, right? Even if it's not murder, right? Where you're just like, could I weave a web of lies? Could I get away with something?
Can I end up with an island?
And what would happen? And how would I do it? And where would it start to go wrong?
And it's the postmodern riff of this movie is like, okay, this is how it actually would go down. Everything would just kind of be sloppy and meaningless.
Because like in a Coen Brothers movie like Blood Simple, you could watch this and be like, well, all of these characters are essentially kind of worthless. It's not like these are lovable characters. So what do I care what happens to them? Let them all, shoot each other. And instead you're like with them. You're not exactly rooting for characters always, but like you're kind of just like you're in that experience that you're talking about of like, what would I do? And like what would happen next if I, whatever. Like
it's a movie designed knowing that audiences watch these types of movies that way. And when they're skipping over information, it's taking advantage of the fact where it's like placing you in his headspace of, I don't know why I just killed a guy. You have Getz walk into the office. see Hideo there, step on a gun, think mistakenly that he's the one who just shot him, when in fact he has been lying there bleeding out in a chair. And it's just like everything spirals off of that.
I think just one thing that I would just want to say about like all the performances in the movie is that I think something that's generous about the movie and possibly like related to the fact that it was their first movie where they wanted to give kind of juicy roles to everybody is I really do think that there's moments in this movie where every character feels like they're the main character. Like more so than I think any of the Coen's other movies. Even.
Although I do think that is kind of a thing that carries through for most of their career.
Fargo kind of has 3 leads and, you know, sort of 3 support, like, right? Like there, it's like you could argue, well, McDormand's the lead. Yeah, sure. But she's not in a lot of the movie and she kind of shows up late.
You could argue the same with No Country.
Macy's
you can argue the same
Macy
with
vanishes from the movie.
It's the braid. They love the braid.
You can also argue the same with
3 lines. Yeah.
Well, actually, Buscemi's the lead. Like Buscemi's actually maybe in more of the movie than you think he is, or whatever. You know, yeah, exactly.
I would just say though that like Marty coming back for an extremely extended dream sequence where he has this strange, almost touching heart to heart, like menacing / touching heart to heart, like that feels like a little bit like. Are you like, why are you bringing this character back? You know, it's
but like the shot of the blood, like out of a bucket, like hitting the floor is so good.
It's hitting every part. It is actually, yeah, you're right about that though. Like it's giving one extra crazy horror thriller moment that the movie maybe needed.
Yeah, it's a good pop for the movie energy wise, and it's a good reminder of the thing you're talking about, the sort of the guilty frenzy that builds up.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Griffin.
No, I saw that Ebert review and it hit me very hard where I'm like, I do think that is...
He's fucking good at that. Boiling something down like that.
But also the admitting, we all think about this, right? Like part of the buy-in of this movie isn't that we all sit around plotting murder, but we all, like Ben, read a noir novel or watch a movie or whatever and think about how you would handle it. And this is like a movie in which the people inside of it are trying to act like people in a movie and they can't get it right. They're sort of like, I know my role in this story and I just have to do this and it will all work out.
There's also just a doomed, it's like once you have the affair, it's like once you start a relationship where you threw someone else under the bus at the beginning of the relationship, like they're never going to trust each other. And that's the thing, like when he comes to see Marty, he's like, one day she's going to say, I'm not doing anything funny. And then when she has the dream, you know, they're saying, I love you. And he's like, you know, you're just saying it because you're scared. And that's what Ray says to her at the end. It's just their relationship is haunted in a kind of Final Destination way from the beginning. They touched the monkey paw, you know.
Hideo is totally doomed. In their heads.
Yeah.
He's gotten into both of their heads.
He's in my head too.
And my heart.
Okay. So what else do we discover before the iconic famous ending of this film, which I feel like is the most famous part of the movie?
I think the 2 most famous parts of the tour de force performances, there's the 20-minute burial scene.
The burial scene.
The ending. Right. I feel like those are the standout.
There's no dialogue other than the radio.
Yes.
There's like 15 continuous minutes that play out without any of the primary characters speaking. Yeah. That is just kind of process.
And that's what, when you watch this movie, you're like, yes, this is a Coen Brothers movie. It's about people on the edge and sort of idiot criminality spiraling out of control. But then at the same time, you're like, it barely has any dialogue. Like, it doesn't have that kind of the flourishes we associate with them later in their career.
It basically only has 5 characters. The only guy we haven't mentioned is Sam Art Williams, who plays Maurice, and I think is incredibly good in this.
He's great.
And is kind of the one neutral party in this movie.
I was going to say, you keep wondering whether he's going to break in a direction. He kind of doesn't.
Almost every scene of his in the script is cut in half. And the movie ends with an action sequence where he fights Julian. He fights the dog.
That's how it's written?
Yeah, he fights the dog in the room with the beige billiard table, and he fights it with a cue.
That's fascinating. Because it feels like in the final product, his function is to remind you, like, these people are all caught up in some shit that is kind of in their heads, right? Is like a weird combination of like anger and like lust and jealousy and paranoia that's animating all of them. And he's just like a guy clocking in and clocking out and doing his job.
Yeah, he's the uninvolved.
These characters exist in a real world. Like, this world is not inherently evil. They're making decisions.
This movie is not funny. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't have funny moments. And there is that dark black humor of the Coens like there. But like, again, you don't watch this movie and see Raising Arizona coming.
No, it's a wild swing.
Right. And you don't see, but like Fargo is an interesting contrast to this movie in that it is so funny. It has a luminously heroic character in the middle of it.
Like pure good.
Right. And like nonetheless has so much, what common DNA. It's just like the arc of their career is interesting to think about. And it is interesting to think of them watching this movie and being like, oh boy. Like, because it's like Stanley Kubrick made Fear and Desire. And you're like, nice try, Stanley. Like maybe take another cut, right? Whereas the Coen brothers are treating this like their Fear and Desire, where they're like, this is so amateurish. Like that's crazy. Please, Jordan.
Well, the only thing I would add is that like the Coens have different modes that they're in, and you see it throughout their career. So like there's definitely movies like Fargo where dialogue and character interactions and funny voices is like a big part of the meal that they're serving up. But then if you watch No Country, which is probably in the long run the movie they're going to be most remembered for,
it's a great question. I think about it a lot.
Very little dialogue. Obviously, there are memorable dialogue scenes, but huge stretches of that movie is just like a guy putting gear together in order to trick somebody else or do like cat and mouse stuff in a hotel room. And like,
yeah, and the script, To the White Sea is nothing but that opening stuff from No Country, or the 20-minute silent sequences where you're just watching almost like dialogue scenes that are happening silently between objects and a person's face, watching them build one version of a thing.
Which I think they are better at than any other filmmakers alive.
Yeah, and you can read it in the script. It's like that whole scene where he's cleaning up the murder scene. It's all like, he tries the windbreaker and it says, this isn't going to work. And then it's like he adds the towel. It's like, this is going to work. It's all like step forward, step backwards. It's very trackable.
Silent conversations with objects is a great way of putting it, where I'm like, No Country is one of the best like shot reverse shot between human face and inanimate thing movies I have ever seen, where you understand exactly what they're thinking and what they're looking to do. But I remember Wes Anderson always talks about on Bottle Rocket how he would lose certain arguments, not even arguments, but like line producer, first AD, whoever comes along, go like, Wes, we're running behind schedule. We have to move on. Or we don't have time to prep this. We just need to shoot this, rather than holding up and waiting for the wall to be finished, painted the right color or whatever it is. And he's like, I watch that movie and it drives me crazy and it causes me physical pain, that all I see are the things that I like conceded at the final moment as good enough. And he's like, it makes me so physically, viscerally uncomfortable that I made this commitment to myself from that movie of just like, I am never letting something film until it's ready ever again. Like, I do not want to have a single second in any of my movies that irritates me in this way, where I feel like I didn't get what I wanted, versus owning the mistakes of misjudgment, but executing it in the way you had it in your head. And I think Blood Simple is like a little similar for them, where they just look at it and they were like, from this moment on, we were just never going to let anyone make us move on.
But on the other hand, like something that they talk about in their sort of like, let's say contemporary, or like when they hit their stride, is that part of the process is, as much as the movie is storyboarded to all hell and like, every single moment is storyboarded, that's not what the actors are looking at. So when the actors get to set, they block the scenes. And like the way Deakins describes it is, and yet somehow the blocking ends up being exactly like the storyboards.
Right.
But I will say, maybe that's something they learned from this, where they're like,
possibly
the performances feel too chopped up, or it's not giving the actors room to breathe.
I don't know if you guys found this, but that the storyboard artist they hired kept drawing the Frances McDormand character naked, so she kept asking to see the storyboards, and they were like, "We just really go off of whatever you want," because they were so embarrassed. Obviously, they start dating like right after this. But the last shot of this movie, with Emmett Walsh's POV of the dripping of the faucet, right? You notice, if you watch it closely, that they have to replay the shot backwards.
Joel refers to it as rock and rolling that frame. He said we had to rock and roll that frame.
They just didn't get a long enough like shot of it.
They basically just make the drip go like to the left and then to the right and to left to right, and then it drops. And they do the same thing when he shoots Hideo. Actually, they do an optical to make him just like totally freeze for a second longer.
Yeah. But there's stuff like that where I wonder if that came out of necessity.
Like,
we don't have the piece we need in the edit, so how do we like fudge it to make it work?
It's hard to direct a drip from a pipe.
But that probably drives them insane now. Versus like today, they would just be like, we spent 3 months figuring out how to film the drip before we got to set.
And there's lots of stuff like that in Barton Fink with like drains and drips.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and the famous drain shot that Robert Deakins makes fun of them for, which we talk about on that episode.
Oh, as this series goes on, you got to check out the Deakins website. Every single film he publishes his lighting plans, and you can really, really understand what he's doing. I know this is not a Deakins film, but as the show goes on, you got to get into the, just the department heads, Jane Muskie, Dennis Gassner, Jess Gonshore, just like the transition from their production designers, their DPs. It's so trackable with their movies because they'll go through phases with like a production designer, or they'll go through phases with a DP. But yeah, get so excited for the Deakins stuff.
It is crazy that they only made 3 films with Sonnenfeld because it feels so impactful that these 3 guys like all started together. And then Sonnenfeld obviously figures out how to take the style he develops with them and puts it onto like the biggest studio comedies imaginable. And then they sort of transmute it into something new with Deakins and the other DPs they work with later.
But like Sonnenfeld is such a designer, but I don't feel like his style with the Coens is ever quite as immaculate in the blockbuster. I mean, I guess he's got a lot of the rushing, camera stuff.
But also the big wide angle lens.
Yeah. And really good sets.
He had a lot more money to throw around too for most of his movies too.
Was there a lot of money in Men in Black? Was that Wild Wild West? That was an indie, right? That one they made.
The notorious thing about Sonnenfeld is on his studio movies, his direction is always slower, flatter.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because it's like this thing that they developed with the Coens of like, can you develop this visual style where if you have a compelling actor in the middle of the frame, the least they're doing on this wide of a lens will end up amplifying.
Like the Addams Family has Raul Julia and Christopher Lloyd in a like not slower or flatter competition almost, right? You know what I mean? Like
I guess Men in Black is like the height of that for him, where it's like telling Tommy Lee Jones to do nothing.
Which is awesome and works, and Tommy Lee Jones is what the hell is happening to me, and then he sees the movie and he's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Although Tommy Lee Jones is the Gene Hackman style actor where he's like, yeah, I hated making the movie and thought the guy was an idiot. Then I watched it and I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Well, I think they like developed the style together where no matter how seriously the thing was being played at the center, things feel a little funny and off. There is like some innate black humor just to the actual lensing of these movies that then Sonnenfeld carries over onto movies that are more explicitly funny, which then makes it less funny as his career goes on. Like when you watch fucking 9 Lives and it's a Kevin Spacey talking cat movie that's shot like this.
Normal movie, I bet.
Right. Now you're like, well, we're just in like Bugnuts world.
Right. Yeah, the ending is rocks, and it is funny. It's so intense in the theater. I've seen this movie in a theater. Like you are like truly gripping your seat. And then him laughing, being like, oh, you didn't even know who you were fucking shooting? Like, rocks.
It's meaningless.
Yes.
And also Emmett Walsh cracking up as he's dying. Like, it's just a great character detail. Like, early on when Hideo Marty says, like, I know what rock to turn over to find you. He loses it and he says, that's very good. Yeah. What rock to turn over? Good one.
Does he blow out the mic on that? It sounds like
he's blowing it. He's blowing it a lot. And then at the end, when she says, I'm not afraid of you, Marty, he has to get that last line in where he says, what does he say? Like, ma'am, I'll be sure to tell him if I see him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But
which is great.
The image of she has pinned his gloved hand with the knife, right? That has crossed over into her room on the windowsill. All other parts of his body are still outside of her view on the other side. She's like aware of this guy here just by his bloody, pinned, writhing hand. And then he's shooting through the wall. And this weird, like, here's a physical reminder of the guy who you're fighting with, only through one anonymous appendage. and then the sense of danger that is like leaking through on the other side, and this like weird like cackling laugh.
Yeah, and just as like showmanship, it really does end with a sequence that feels like Terminator or Halloween. It has that great like final girl feeling, and also just the ending is like someone who's wounded, who can't see you, who's shooting at you. It's like so hard for her to know, should I go to the left or should I go to the right?
You could shoot in any direction through one of those walls.
Yeah, and what's so great about the visual is that they put individual lights on each bullet hole, pointing in different directions, so that it looks like basically like the light is the trail of where the bullet went, which makes no sense based off of how light works, but it's a perfect kind of Looney Tunes like just escalation.
It's like swords going into like a magician's trunk,
and that will carry over to Raising Arizona. Like that energy does recur. Oh, hey Ben.
Ben's leaning in. You're just deep in thought.
Ben's kind of doing a neighbor in Home Improvement thing over his monitor right now. Wilson there.
I've been on the record. I love dirt.
Mm-hmm. This could be a good series for you, by the way.
Poof, I know.
A lot of dirty bags of money.
Yeah. If you're digging at night, something really fucked up is happening.
If you're digging in the dark,
this is why he's our finest film.
100%.
2 guests. I need to hold back. I pass the mic over to Jordan. I don't need to enter the conversation. And you're just sitting there like, this has to be shared. And it is a thought we would never get to in 8 hours. But what a profound statement. You were right. Has there ever been a good night dig?
No. I mean, unless, maybe you're like really desperate to make a shelter.
Well, yeah, this is what I'd say. It doesn't have to be nefarious.
Right.
But if you're doing benevolent night digging, your life's in a bad place, right? Like there's a reason they literally call it the graveyard shift. Like the worst kind of working position you can imagine is you are being paid to dig graves at night. And you're like, this is a job. Whatever, I got to pay the rent, but yet this is the least desirable job anyone could possibly have. Right. So you're either trying to get away with a crime, something's gone horribly wrong, like you're trying to get out of a jam, an existential jam, a threat, or you got bad options.
Or you're like a woodchuck.
I suppose if you're a woodchuck,
he came up with the one exception to his own rule.
But it's pretty it's pretty limited.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Have you guys? I know we're all like grew up in the city for the most part. Have you ever dug?
It's a good question. Why would I have ever been digging? I don't think I've ever really dug.
No.
Why would I be digging? What would I dig?
I played dig dug.
I know you buried some jeans, Ben. I'm aware that you did that.
We're very aware.
It's come up on this show.
And I've dug a lot of holes in my life.
Why?
I have to say. Putting in fence posts.
Sure. Never had to put in a fence post. Never had anywhere to put a fence.
Helping my dad garden, planting a shrub.
So I've done that. I think of that as that's little dig. Little dig.
You're using
with the
trowel.
little trowel.
But I'm talking big boy.
I've maybe helped my grandma
slamming
do that.
Down with your boot.
Yeah. I've chopped wood.
Yeah.
Have I done much digging? I don't know.
Ray?
No experience.
Shakes his head.
No.
Jordan?
Every year, my dad and I and whoever happens to be around before the Passover Seder.
Bernie fish?
Yes, we go out to the side of the house and we dig up some horseradish, which will then...
The horseradish for the Passover Seder?
Bitter herb, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Like around 4 p.m.
Okay. So right before Sunday.
An evening dig.
You got to get
an evening dig, but not a true night dig.
No.
I mean, I could imagine, though, something messed up happening and having to do the dig at night.
It'd be a bad sign. Yeah.
Anyway, that was just a little dig corner. I that's all I had.
Okay. Well, it was invaluable.
I'm going to tell you a little about the release of the film. So Emmett Walsh, of course, says the film had a huge impact on his career. His price went up like 5 times. He says, I was the guy everyone wanted. Here's a funny call. At one point, he gets a call from Joel Coen saying, hey, M. I guess you call him M?
They say that when they met him, they didn't know how to address him. And they were like, is he M? Is he Emmett? Or
his
is
name
he
is
Mr.
Michael
Walsh?
Emmett Walsh, to be clear. But they called him M. Can you blow smoke rings? And he was like, I guess. He tried. He made himself sick. He wasn't a smoker. He didn't really do it. And they were like, don't worry, we came up with a little machine for it. And
he tells a different story in the Criterion thing.
But then when they shoot the scene, here's the machine didn't work.
Yes.
And so a little prop girl was like, I grew up with 4 older brothers in the barn. Give me a cigar. I can do it. And she starts blowing beautiful smoke rings. And then she starts barfing.
Yeah, profusely.
Because cigars are pretty disgusting to anyone, but especially a little girl.
And Walsh throws that out as like, that's the movies right there. Like a 20-year-old puking after getting to do big screen cigar smoke rings.
A cruise spotlight. They had a overqualified key grip on this movie who they said was like a LA guy who had moved to Austin because he was afraid of the big one earthquake happening in LA. And he was doing sheetrock and he was so bored. But basically they're like, we had this small movie, but we had like a big A-list key grip. So all those like flying, like when the camera moves over the drunk guy at the bar. I was
going to say.
All the kind of animated flying camera stuff is just like they have this extra muscle behind them that is out of size with the scale of the movie they're making.
Being able to boom your camera up, I'll just say,
yes,
is a big deal.
I feel like that shot in particular and that camera move of jumping over the drunk is like the moment where I have to imagine people at film festivals, like my parents, but also this fucking year-long run of them doing like a global tour of this movie. The moment where every screening people lean forward and go, who the fuck are these guys?
But also that's the moment where all the pieces have been set on the playing board, and then he's going back to the bar and she's like, don't go back to the bar, and he goes back. So it's like everything is set up, and I almost feel like that moment is being like, this mousetrap is perfect and the camera is just like moving over it, so they don't want to disturb a hair.
It's just such a funny flourish with so much personality, and yet if you're seeing it at a film festival and you're probably someone who works in film or studies it immensely, the second that shot happens, he goes, fuck, that's complicated. The fact that these guys would take the time to set that up when it just kind of feels like something to make themselves laugh immediately tells you a ton about them.
Film was shot over the course of 8 weeks. Haven't mentioned that. In Texas. Now, Joel had spent a little time in Texas because he went to UT, but I think just a little bit of time. But they kind of loved it as a sort of swerve from the urban feel of most noirs.
I mean, this is a thing they're always saying is like, these are just genre films. We're working in well-established genres, but we're just trying to make things off the hump and specific all the time. So they're just like, this is the opposite of rainy New York. So it's a great place to do a noir.
Now, Joel is credited on this film as the director. Ethan's credited as the producer, largely due to DGA regulations. We talk about this a little bit on our Barton Fink episode, which is with someone who has run into these DGA regulations. They do become an established DGA duo by the time of The Lady Killers. JJ points out that the Farrelly brothers did this quickly. I do think sometimes you can just do it. And my guess is they just didn't bother to sort of like make the effort to be like, hey, can we be, right? They just kind of settled.
They got rejected at first, and then we're like, I guess we won't get approved. And their ongoing success probably made it easier for other siblings like the Wachowskis and the Farrellys and whoever to hit the ground running and get approved the first time out.
They say they joke like, oh, Joel's taller, that's why he's the director. But they seriously say that the credits don't really reflect the collaboration, and Ethan does plenty of the directorial stuff and Joel does plenty of the production stuff, whatever. Like
everyone who works with them calls them the two-headed director. They're like, it is the most bizarre symbiotic.
I'm a two-person school of fish.
Right.
Like they move simultaneously.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it's funny that with Drive-Away Dolls, like as soon as you get into the interviews with Ethan and Trisha Cook, they'll just be like, yeah, we co-directed it. Like, just funny that they're like recapitulating that exact thing, like having the credit be a little bit wrong.
So here's another thing we'll get into in the Barton Fink episode, not to tip the hand too much, but it sounds like if you successfully get the DGA to approve the idea that you are a true team, that's not a thing that can be untangled and retangled.
Yes, you're not allowed to flip it on and off.
You can't make a new team now.
So Barry did throw up a lot. I think you referenced that briefly, Ray, because you've been throwing up a lot. Not to call you out. Similarly, out of nerves, right? Like Barry was very nervous, but obviously the film does turn out to be pretty good. They were very inspired visually by The Conformist.
And The American Friend.
right, which is a great movie.
That movie is so well shot.
They also said they had a Laserdisc on location, a Laserdisc player, and they had just seen Road Warrior. So they were watching Road Warrior
That
on
kinda rocked.
Laserdisc.
They talk about Road Warrior a lot as one of their like evergreen biggest inspirations of just like, this is just pure filmmaking. Right.
Yeah, I don't know if George Miller broke through for like the American public, like as a name at that point, but you just see this time again, like with James Cameron or any action director at that time, just being like, I want to do what George Miller's doing. Like, it's just like, it truly was your favorite director's favorite director at that moment.
They have this film. No one wants to release it. Every studio is happy to watch it because there really aren't a lot of like independent 35 millimeter films. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is still an unusual American product. There's not much of an indie scene. Everyone sees it and is basically, how would I sell this? Like, this is like an art film about murderers.
And it has
like,
no stars.
Right.
Right. And it's like pitch black. Yeah.
Yes. And at one point they meet with the Crown International Pictures, Mark Tenser, and he liked it, but he had no money. And he said, don't worry about my screwing you. I don't have time to screw you. And Sam Raimi, they went to Sam Raimi and they were like, should we do this? And he said, yeah, in 6 months, he's going to come back to you and say, hey, I found the time.
An incredibly good line.
Good line by old Raimi. But
probably a good call. I mean, I don't know, but
sure,
it's just interesting little like possible detour.
That could have been how it went. Instead, it goes into TIFF and Circle Films, which distributes their first 3 movies.
Which had started out as like a bunch of different theater owners.
Yes, Ben Barenholtz is into it. And so he said it was the debut film that impressed him most since Eraserhead. Speaking of people we recently covered. And then it went to New York, which was a really, really big deal back in the day. Not that the New York Film Festival isn't a big deal now, but I feel like it used to have a more primo place on the festival calendar. Whereas now New York is more like, yeah, you know, stuff's already been at Venice and Telluride, and it's like getting here.
Well, that's the thing that's really changed is the like film
the internet
festival
has flattened this. Yeah.
Festivals wanting premieres and exclusives. The idea of a movie like this playing at festivals for over a year and each festival not being possessive of like, well, that's damaged goods because this other place got to it first. It was like prominence in terms of like the headiness of the jury or the selection committee or whatever versus like this film is either good or bad based on what festival it's premiering at relative to which is the best launching pad for an Oscar campaign.
Yeah.
Right? Like now New York Film Festival has become like these are movies that already are pre-approved, basically, by and large.
After the New York Film Festival premiere, Janet Maslin of the New York Times, one of its film critics, gives it a good review. That back in the day is just huge. Obviously, that's important now, but back in the day, very important. Goes to Sundance, early Sundance, but nonetheless won the Grand Jury Prize there, which only helps its buzz. Pauline Kael took a big shit on it, as she did to any movie released post 1980, essentially. But Roger Ebert was a huge fan. And it made money, like decent money. I think it made about $2 million, which is obviously a big return on investment for the investors. And everyone basically likes it except for Joel, who says it's pretty damn bad. And Sonnenfeld agrees the pacing too slow. I could have shot it better. These days we do it for 10 times the price and it would be 8% better. That's kind of a funny line from Sonnenfeld. He knows he's actually being a little silly criticizing it. Like it's not like Sonnenfeld's like, oh yeah, the guy who made RV would have a better take on this.
And they don't hate it. They don't, right. It's not like there's a lot of directors.
They have affection.
They're sort of like, oh, it's like cute. We didn't know what we were doing. Yeah.
Could I just real quick, like the Pauline Kael, pan is interesting just because her main take without the benefit of you know being able to read the future is it seems like these guys are just trying to make this movie as a calling card to make studio films.
Yes. She's like, this is too derivative. Like, it's like, I can see all of the influences.
And I just think it's interesting in terms of thinking forward of like where the Coens are going to go, because as much as they are making films that are extremely to their own standards, they also do make movies that are commercially minded and like audience minded.
Yes, they don't. It's a great way to think about it. It's like they make challenging movies, But even Barton Fink, which I think of as maybe their most challenging movie of pretty much that they ever made, in a way, like their artiest movie. And I am also thinking of it because we already did this episode. He's incredibly watchable and has velocity, even though it's about a guy sitting in a fucking room going crazy. And like, I remember watching as a teenager and being like, wow, this is heady. And I watch it now and I still think it's so brilliant. But I was like, damn, this thing moves like thunderbolts. I love it.
It kind of reminds me of like 90s, re-listening to 90s albums where you're like, oh yeah, this was so stripped back. And now you listen to it now and you're like, wow, that was extremely produced.
Yes, right.
Like,
there's a thing that Carter Burwell talks about, like him and Skip working together on this movie, kind of establishing a thing, which is like, we need to let the audience know by what we're doing with the sound that this movie isn't one thing or the other. It's not just this harsh, dark thriller. It's not just a comedy. And I do think they established that in this first movie. Is like, you're not going to be able to pin down exactly what this is, but you're going to be entertained.
They get even better at it as their career progresses. And I also think their most beloved movies are the ones that find the like perfect balance between those tones. But it is my favorite thing about them that they always, like, in the most dramatic scenes will find a way to put in something funny, and the funniest scenes find a way to put in something that's like very terrifying and heartbreaking.
They also talk a lot, just process-wise, like they will take things to a point where it gets more locked down and they will walk it back.
Yeah.
So that it, like,
That's interesting.
In Barton Fink, they were like, there was a scene in the script where there's a point in the movie where it's pretty clear you're going into his fantasy. But then there was a beat, almost like in Brazil, where you go outside of his fantasy and you see what's really happening to Barton. And they were like, that just locks it down too much. That makes it resolved. And if you just leave it more enigmatic, then it's something that stays alive in the audience's head.
Right. I was trying to find, there was one review they were talking about that they remember hitting really hard that basically described the movie as having all the depth of a resume.
And the soul of a Bloomingdale's window.
Okay. Yeah. But I was trying to remember whose review that was. I can't find it now.
It's just Joel saying, I loved this review.
Yeah, it wasn't Kale.
Okay.
Kale says Blood Simple has no sense of what we normally think of as, quote, reality, and has no connections with, quote, experience. And then she says at the end, nobody in the movie-making team or in the audience is committed to anything. Nothing is being risked except the $1.5 million. She's doubling the budget. But this was the strike against them. And then I found Rosenbaum did a piece like 15 years later, 20 years later, explaining why he still thinks he's right about Blood Simple being shitty. And he wrote, remains mired in a smart alecky film school sensibility. Like, this was the whole thing that everyone threw at them when they didn't like them, is like, we get it. You guys are clever. You're smart. You've watched movies. You know how to move the camera. You have nothing to say about humanity.
You don't think there's anything personal about this film about a marriage falling apart that Joel wrote while his marriage was falling apart?
Yeah,
you don't think there's
Austin,
some
Texas.
energy?
Yeah.
Like, I think they're sincere filmmakers.
I think they're incredibly sincere
but I think this is where their rep that I was referencing is tacit or whatever. It's like, you do have to think a little around their jokiness and their kind of like straightforwardness to dig into like, yeah, actually, right. These guys are not just kind of like, oh, no, we just sort of sit down and write the movie. Who cares? Like, I'm like, no, you're motivated by your own feelings and the conversations. I don't think they just sit down and they're like, what if a guy's name was Barton Fink? Oh, good idea. When would he have lived? I don't know, the 40s? Okay, let's keep going.
I guess there's this weird balance to me of them feeling like incredibly earnest nihilists, if that makes sense. Like, there is a real emotional sincerity to them being fascinated by this question of like, is this truly all meaningless? And so often their movies are built around that. These characters doing these, like, making these decisions that make zero sense in pursuit of a thing that's maybe going to ruin their whole fucking life. And I think that got written off as being condescending and just like, they don't care. This is all them like shaking up an ant farm and like laughing at stupid characters doing stupid things, which combined with their just like technical proficiency in craft is just like, okay, so these guys are just like jerking off. They're just like torturing characters and showing me that they're good at making movies, which like over time, I think people calm down. But we also have been talking about any time a young filmmaker is like very quickly anointed as not just this is a good movie, but this might be a major voice. There is like 30% of the community that immediately needs to be like, false idol, fuck you. I need to take them down. We cannot immediately like put them into the firmament.
Should we play the box office game?
Sure. Do you guys have anything else you want to say?
I mean, I just want to say, like, for some reason, the scene that's coming to mind to sort of respond to what you just said is the scene at the end of True Grit where Rooster just carries Haley Steinfeld for, like, you know, the whole way, and it's like hallucinogenic, and it's just
maybe
like
their most nakedly emotional movie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it too, like where you know, where she doesn't actually get to see him later. Like it's hard for me to imagine anybody seeing that and being like, these guys don't have like a sense of like heart.
Well, that scene is so emotional, but then the movie ends with her being like a bitter woman who has never gotten over these events, and the film basically cuts off mid-sentence.
Sure, yeah. No, they're aware of audience expectations and not necessarily wanting to give people like the Hollywood ending, so to speak.
But that is also their only blockbuster. That movie was so fucking massive. And it
Especially
is
by their standards.
Yeah, but also by anyone's standards.
Sure,
It's like a fucking $160 million grossing like adult Western. That movie made like 300 worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
right.
Yes, I'm not
disputing. And it clearly is that there was like a level of emotion in that people connected with more on top of everything else. Box office game.
So this film came out 18th of January, 1985, right after Sundance, I guess. It's just not open in the top 5. Number 1 at the box office is a film we've covered. An action comedy.
Action comedy.
It's been out for a couple months.
Okay, so that's Beverly Hills Cop. It's
Beverly Hills Cop!
Yep.
Do you guys like Beverly Hills Cop?
Love it.
Yeah. The best.
Pretty good.
Right, which came out at Christmas, so this is now like
late January. It's been out for about 8 weeks. It's made $122 million.
Yeah, it's front on the table.
No complaints.
Yeah.
Number 2 at the box office has been out for about 3 months. It was a Halloween release befitting its horror genre.
Okay, horror in quotes and air quotes.
No. It's a horror film.
Okay, so then put those quotes
one of the most iconic horror films ever made. Kind of helps launch a studio.
Is it The House That Freddy Built?
That's right.
And the picture is called A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
The original Wes Craven's
Nightmare on
Elm Street. Yeah. Do you guys like that movie?
I like it. I met him one time and he claimed that he did all his writing while he was asleep in lucid dreams. He was like, during the day, I have errands to do and I have a family and I have stuff to do. So I just go to sleep, start a lucid dream, build the world of the film around me, hang out in it for like 6 hours. I wake up, I write everything down in like 15 minutes, and then I have stuff to do all day.
So is Freddy ghostwriting his movies? This motherfucker went to sleep. Freddy Krueger just starts typing away with those fucking knife fingers. And then he wakes up and he's just like, oh yeah, something came to me.
Freddy Krueger's real.
Freddy Krueger's real. He was looking to get into pictures. He invaded Wes Craven's dreams.
Must be hard for him to type on the typewriter.
Yeah. Do you think he only uses the other hand?
I love that film very much. I think it's very scary and very, very cool.
And you like Freddy Krueger as a person. You endorse his personal life.
Freddy Krueger. It's an interesting film in terms of the franchise it spawns. A lot of it is not there. Right? Like the sort of the jokiness of Freddy, the like sort of like kind of Busby, like the musical sequence kind of vibe of a lot of the kills in the later movies.
I like both 2 and 3 more.
Sure. I like 2 and 3 a lot. I think 1 is more scary and impressive.
Yeah. And then when you get to, I like the whole series, but when you get to 4 or 5, you're like in goofballs McGillicuddy town.
Yes.
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street is number 2. Number 3 at the box office is we've mentioned it before. I feel like we've probably done a box office around this period because I remember this one. It's a drama with 2 big stars, an Oscar winner and a younger male star who's pretty big at this point.
It's not Loose Cannons.
No, and I don't even know what that is.
That was a big swing. If I'd been right, it would have been impressive.
What's Loose Cannons?
Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, that's right. No, that's comedy? 1990. That film. Okay, well, this film is 1984.
Bigger Oscar-winning star, like an older star. Old?
No,
just older.
No. The Oscar winner
is a Stakeout.
No. The Oscar winner might be throwing you a little bit.
Really?
The Oscar winner is a lady.
The Oscar winner is a lady.
And the man, well, he's in a film we just discussed. Is a Coen influence.
He's in a Coen influence. And the man is the younger star?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that. Yes, he is. Yes, he's 8 years younger than her, or 7 years. Yeah.
Mm. She's won an Oscar. He hasn't.
No, he's kind of at the start of his big run as an American movie star. He's, he's just emerging in America as a big deal. This is not a really big remembered movie, but the Oscar winner does get a Best Actress nomination.
For this film?
For this film. She's already won one, but she gets another nom. Because she's a big actress. Like, she's a really respected actress.
Jessica Lange?
No. But that's a good guess.
Yeah.
Like someone who like racked up like 6 noms, over the career.
I'm from like Diane Keaton.
No.
But I'm getting close. It's not Meryl, obviously.
No. How aggro I'm being. This film was shot by Vilmos Zsigmond.
Okay.
The director is one of those guys who made big movies, but I feel like is not as respected an auteur these days.
Like a Mark Rydell or higher?
Well, when you say Mark Rydell, you've really nailed it in that it is Mark Rydell.
It is Mark Rydell. So in fact...
So it's like a perfect comp for him in a way, because it's him.
Okay. We're looking for a Mark Rydell type.
It's kind of like, right. Yeah, they were kind of, when they made this movie, they were like, could we get Mark Rydell or a type? And they're like, oh, we could just get him.
So he's kind of Rydell-esque.
He's Rydell'd.
He's Rydellian in his work. Okay, it's a Mark Rydell picture with an actress. Fuck. 19...
All right, I'm going to give this.
No, you have to give me one more clue. Who's the distributor of the picture?
The distributor, of course,
what if this unlocked it?
Universal.
It's a Universal Mark Rydell picture where the actress has an Oscar. The lead man is 8 years younger. Is it a romance?
I think it is it's sort of like a drama, about like bad shit happening to working people in America.
Oh, fuck. I
think I don't think it's a period piece. It might be. I don't know. I'll never watch it.
You'll never watch it?
Well, I never say never, but it's not high on my list.
Give me one of the two actors.
Sissy Spacek is the actress.
Coal Miner's Daughter?
Nope. That's the movie she, of course, won.
Won for. It's not Raggedy Man. No, because that's fucking, of course, that was her husband. That was Jack Fisk. Hey, it's Mark Rydell. Sissy Spacek. She's older. The guy's popping. The guy's he's at the beginning of
hot. Now he's a bit problematic.
It's not Mel Gibson.
It sure is Mel Gibson.
Sissy Spacek, Mel Gibson, Mark Rydell?
Yep. The film is called The River.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The second you say it, I picture the poster in my head.
They're in a river. They're like, oh, this fucking river.
To get there. I could have done that for 5 hours and I wasn't going to get to the river.
They're farmers, and it's like about flooding.
Yeah.
Like the Tennessee Valley.
You're right. Flooding. That's like a video box I remember seeing, being like, wow, that looks serious.
And like, it's just like, it seems very serious.
It seems very
and
serious.
Like the tagline is like an epic love story of today. I mean, unsurprisingly, it was a huge flop.
Okay.
I think it was like relatively well received. It's like his...
Yeah, this poster is like him saving her from the river.
Right. It's his follow-up to On Golden Pond. Right. So like he had juice.
That was huge.
It was huge. Yeah. The pond, but like he was like, pond, what about a river? This water is moving.
He cracked his knuckles and he was like, hold my pond.
Yeah, but not a movie that's remembered. It's just one of those things like I'm saying, like, where I'm like, am I ever going to watch The River?
No, you're right. You know what? In fact, I actually think you will never watch
Probably not.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Okay.
At the box office is not a movie I know. I know the stars. It's a rom-com directed by a legendary comedic director who made a lot of movies with this guy, the star.
Is it a Carl Reiner or Steve Martin movie?
No.
Okay, but
although people got mad at us for not mentioning Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid during our Johnny Dangerously episode, and I didn't think about the fact that those movies came out around the same time and probably did kind of cancel each other.
Sorry for making a big deal out of that.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Apologies.
My alt.
You jerk.
Okay, wait. So this is a different director and star work together a lot team.
Yeah, they work together a lot. This guy is a big comic star of this era, but he exists in many eras.
He exists in many eras?
But he's having he has a hot 80s.
Is it George Burns?
No, but who else has like a really hot 80s?
Who booms in the 80s? Is it Rodney?
No, we love him though.
But is it a man of an advanced age?
He's a little older, but no.
Okay.
I'll tell you what he's not advanced in.
What?
Height.
Okay, so it is Dudley Moore?
There you go.
And it's a Blake Edwards movie?
That's right.
And it's not the one with him and Daryl Hannah?
No. What's that one?
I think it's called Crazy People or something like that.
Sounds like a great title.
Okay, so it's not 10, obviously.
No.
It's after that.
Yes, it is.
And this one, is it Mickey and Maude?
Mickey and Maude.
Okay.
And who are Mickey and Maude?
Well, he is Mickey.
Nope, he's neither.
Okay, this movie sounds good.
It's got two ladies. One of whom has been on this podcast.
Amy Irving?
Amy Irving.
Okay.
Is Maude.
Who's Mickey?
Anne Reinking.
Oh, of course.
The legendary dancer.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know much about it.
And what's Dudley Moore doing?
He's an overworked tabloid reporter.
Great.
Happily married to Mickey.
Okay.
And then he interviews a young cellist, Maude.
I feel like...
And starts to have an affair.
Dudley Moore has this huge 80s that were like a series of comedies mostly predicated on...
This guy fucks.
This guy might be getting a dangerous amount of pussy. Right? Like all of it was just like...
hello. And everyone's like, let me at you.
He can't stop.
Absolutely. This was Anne Ranking's last acting role in a film.
Wow.
It's been remade in Bollywood a couple times, or in India, I would say. Maybe not always in Bollywood. Not a movie. It was a box office disappointment.
The poster is him marrying both of them.
Hey, only Dudley. Number 5 at the box office. This has been a great box office game. Is it's a teen movie, I think.
Okay. You're not very familiar. You don't sound certain.
I've never seen it. Oh, right. It has a bit of a odd, trivial part of film history. It was the first ever PG-13.
Huh.
Because everyone always says Temple of Doom and all that.
But they're the ones that inspired
Now, it was not the first released, because that, I believe, is Red Dawn. But it was the first to receive
get the rating.
Yes.
So Teen Picture, which distributor?
The distributor, of course, is 20th Century Fox.
Fine folks at 20th Century Fox. Mm-hmm. Okay, and
it's from a very established comedy director, made a zillion movies, kind of a Blake Edwards type.
Kind of a Blake Edwards type.
Just a comic director who made a ton of movies.
Yeah.
But this guy would make more of your emotional comedies.
Comedies with heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
He probably described it as like, a comedy should have heart. He'd probably like yell it.
It's not Herbert Ross.
No.
It's not Gary Marshall.
It is Gary Marshall.
It is Gary Marshall. Is it the Flamingo Kid?
It's Matt Dillon as the Flamingo Kid.
People like that one a lot. I've never seen it.
It's about a working class boy who works at a beach resort and learns valuable life lessons.
Hey, learn some lessons.
It might stun you to learn that Hector Elizondo appears.
Wait a second. Security? How did this guy end up on set?
Surely
he wasn't invited.
Richard Crenna.
Okay.
And Jessica Walter. That's fun.
Sounds fun.
I don't really know much about it.
Okay.
Anyone ever seen the Flamingo
He's like a cabana boy? Is that what
he works at a resort.
Okay.
That's the box office game. The rest of the 10 is A Passage to India, new this week.
Sure. What have you done lately?
I forget when we referenced that story, but it's somewhere.
Oh, get ready. It's a call forward. It happens in 3 episodes.
A film called That's Dancing, which was a compilation of dancing in film.
Okay.
Protocol. It's a Goldie Hawn movie.
Yes,
a Herbert Ross.
Yes.
Which
she become a cop?
It's like a DC thing.
Yes.
She like stops an assassination attempt or something.
Great. Yeah.
Starman, which we've covered, and the famous bomb, The Cotton Club.
Oh, sure. It is great that Goldie Hawn just had her thing carved out for like 15 years, where it's like, Goldie shouldn't be here.
I'm a dumbass.
This is the last place you want her, and yet she's going to kind of figure it out.
Blood Simple.
Yeah.
An auspicious beginning to a great career for the Coen brothers.
Mm-hmm. Are there things that you guys want to seed in our heads to think about as men who have been deep diving for several years now into their work as we go on this journey chronologically?
Well, I think we've touched on a lot of it over the course of this conversation. Like the first episode we did was about opening monologues, and that's certainly here. And then the second episode we did was called The Meticulous Montage, which you could also call like a methodical montage, which is definitely a big part of this movie and a big part of many other movies.
It is fascinating how much it does feel like all the pieces are here. Like, we kept comparing this to other films in their filmography, and you're just sort of like, all the interests, all the obsessions, right? All the stylistic flourishes.
Yeah, and I think the goal is like some interview where they're like, "Why are your movies so violent?" And Ethan was like, "You mean dramatic, right?"
Right.
And they're just like, "We want to make this dramatic. We want to make it specific." Anytime that someone's like, "What are the themes underneath this? What are you trying to say about society or America?" They're like, "No. We're Americans. We're expressing our Americanness through trying to make a film that's very specific and very dramatic."
They talked about this in that Eggers interview where they were like, foreign critics, especially in Europe, tend to have hugely political readings of our movies. And it is transparently just that we do not think we have enough of an understanding to set a movie in any other country but the one we've lived our entire lives in. And here, it's not viewed as some overarching statement about our country and our culture. But there, it is always taken that way. And there being any other country.
And when they tried to write Gambit, it was just a complete,
Yeah.
No, I don't actually stand by that. I think there's a lot more going on in that movie.
Also, I think a thing to look out for, when we talked to their storyboard artist, he was like, it's basically two things at all times. It's either surprise or suspense. Like, we're just toggling back and forth between those, and that's basically the whole thing.
Yeah,
that's
I think
a good line.
if you're watching their movies and you're just watching like for suspense versus surprise, or moments where suspense turns to surprise, I think you can get a lot out of it. I kind of just want to do the thing about the gun, though. I kind of just want to like walk through the thing that I figured out yesterday.
Say this. Can you say this? Will you please say this?
So I've watched the movie a few times, and I only put it all together on the very last viewing I did, which is just that early on in the movie, they go to Marty's house, the two, Abby and Ray, and she goes there to pick up bullets from a box that fit the gun that he gave her. And so she finds exactly 3 bullets that she puts into her gun, which is a 6-shooter. So, and then when Visser steals the gun from their house, he checks the barrel, and you see that there's 3 empty chambers and then 3 bullets. When Visser shoots Marty, he shoots 1 bullet.
Sure.
When Ray hits the gun, a bullet goes off.
Yeah.
Then when Marty clicks the gun when he's getting buried, he clicks it 3 times, and the last click is like right as Ray is taking the gun out of his hands, like very gently, and in a way that the Coens describe it as like the Michelangelo Sistine Chapel shot of like God and man touching their hands. But like, if you track that, you realize that by the end of the movie, when Abby takes Visser out, and she doesn't even know this, she had exactly 1 bullet left in the chamber, in the revolver. It's just like a great example, though, of like sort of the intricacies and the details of the plot that could actually like make the movie a lot more thrilling. Because like when I figured that out, I realized like Ray has no idea that he thinks the gun's empty, right? But when you're watching, you're like, oh, if Hideo had gotten 1 more shot off, like he would have.
But that's also right. Like, as meticulous as these things are, they're also sort of about how meaningless these things are. Like, it is absolute happenstance that he doesn't get shot by Hideo in that moment because he doesn't know that he's grabbing a still loaded gun from him, and that McDormand doesn't know that she only has 1 shot to actually hit the guy. Right.
It's a mistake on his part also to not check the gun.
Yeah.
Like several times throughout the movie.
What was the other point you said you wanted us to tee you up? Well,
we don't have to.
We're not going to do it?
No, we're not going to do it.
But no, these are beautifully made poetic movies, and they're made with a level of care that, I mean, me and Jordan have just found, like, basically every episode of our show, we do 2 pages of the To the White Sea script, which is this like $200 million action film. But every 2 pages, you can be like, okay, what's going on in these 2 pages? And then pull out scenes from other Coen Brothers films, and like everything tracks. Like every detail is there on purpose. There's never like a story about their shoot where they're like, oh yeah, we shot with this other actor for a long time, or we shot for 2 weeks and we threw all this stuff out. These are intentionally made films. All their collaborators are really teed up to do good work with them always.
They never talk about a feeling of misstepping on any film past this. Like, regardless of what the public perception was, they're never like, we had this idea and then we got into the edit and it didn't work, so we had to cut this whole thing out. Right.
That's what I'm saying. I think you can just hold these things up to the light and even examine different movies against each other and the themes, even though they're like, we did a lot of this very instinctually. Like when they talk about their process, they're not like, oh, we went and made notes on all these James M. Cain books and we're like, oh, let's make a master document where we can synthesize. They were like, we read all those books at the same time and then we just kept talking about them forever until we were able to instinctually kind of write in a James M. Cain mode. But just all of that intention together adds up to these films that just track. They just, every piece is in its place for a purpose.
That I think will lead to 5 months of exciting conversation here on Blank Check. Yeah. No, we were very excited that they won because it's just like, great. All of these movies are fun to talk about.
Yeah, they're the best. Can I just say that? Like, I just, the premise of my life is that they're the best. Right. You know, these are the best directors.
I like every one of their movies.
Yeah.
I find every one of their movies interesting to talk about, to watch, to think about.
And to watch endlessly. Like the rewatch value of these things, it's like every single time I've done a rewatch of all their movies, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excited to do it. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for kicking this this voyage off on a good note.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
Such a pleasure.
Hey, you guys are family. To the White Sea.
To the White Sea. New episodes coming out. Everyone check this out. This is like the most bonkers bonanza action movie they ever wrote, and we're going through it.
But as you said, you'll like
excruciating detail.
Jump into something in that script and be like, what is the recurring motif of the big guy and a little guy in Coen Brothers movies?
Oh yeah, there's
build
a scene
an episode out of like these elements. Right. What is the through line across the career?
We did a whole episode on Distant Fathers. We did an episode on sneaking around, an episode on teamwork. Yeah.
Act breaks. What is it? Why do you sort of intuitively make this jump from Act 1 to Act 2?
David and I have Coen Brothers big guy, little guy energy.
Sure. Yeah.
Coen Brothers also kind of have Coen Brothers big guy, little guy energy.
Well, they said Joel got to direct because he was the bigger guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and Jordan are basically the same height, so it falls apart there.
Ray's got a few inches on me.
Really?
Let's just be
you got the
completely
hair height
transparent.
though. You do a mini think. You got a little hair height working for you.
I got a little eraser head.
When me and Jordan directed the Porches video, we based our storyboards off of the Blood Simple storyboards.
Really?
Yeah, we did. Which is each page we had a little drawing of the frame, and then we had a bird's eye view of the set and where the camera is going to go and where the actors went. Like, we love these guys. We model our craft off of them on almost a daily basis.
Such a good job on the Portraits video. But now I'm thinking, did we miss an opportunity by not having that video end with Ben discovering a bag of money under the porch? And it's spiraling out into a 90-minute narrative.
Fuck, that would have been a nice payoff.
Maybe that's our fundraising trailer, what we already made.
Yeah, there we go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk offline.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Tune in next week for Raising Arizona.
Yep.
It is wild that's their second. Like, as wild as it is that this is their
It's a master stroke.
Yeah.
To go Raising Arizona in your second film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. They go to Hollywood, basically. They try to make a commercial studio picture.
It has everything that this movie doesn't have in so many ways.
Right. It's the counterpoint that then the rest of their career is like toggling between those two modes, usually within the same movie. So yeah, tune in next week for that. And as always, David, what's the email you're currently reading?
I'm not reading an email.
You look very deeply in thought of whatever's on your screen.
I'm seeing Bring Her Back Tonight. And I was just like, what's that about? So I brought it up.
We'll give a shout out. This weekend, we're all going to Ben's wedding.
Oh, hey.
That's true. Yeah, getting married.
Ben, because I've horribly set up.
Let's be done.
Then we have to end the show.
This has let's be done energy.
This is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, because I have mangled this setup and we need to end on something strong, Ben, is there anything you want to say on the record, your last episode as an unmarried man?
Fuck. I don't. I was up to a lot of nonsense and that was really fun. Do I remember a lot of it? No. but damn, did I shine bright as hell as a fucked up guy. And I'm glad that I made it this far and I met someone who really is great. Love can happen to you.
I feel that in the bottom of my heart. It's beautiful.
Beautiful words, Ben. Love can happen.
Blank Check with Griffin and David is hosted by Griffin Newman and David Sims. Our executive producer is me, Ben Hosley. Our creative producer is Marie Barty Salinas. And our associate producer is AJ McKeon. This show is mixed and edited by AJ McKeon and Alan Smithy. Research by JJ Birch. Our theme song is by Lane Montgomery and the Great American Novel, with additional music by Alex Mitchell. Artwork by Joe Bowen, Ollie Moss, and Pat Reynolds. Our production assistant is Minnick. Special thanks to David Cho, Jordan Fish, and Nate Patterson for their production help. Head over to blankcheckpod.com for links to all of the real nerdy shit. Join our Patreon, Blank Check Special Features, for exclusive franchise commentaries and bonus episodes. Follow us on social at Blank Check Pod. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Checkbook, on Substack. This podcast is created and produced by Blank Check Productions.
World is full of complainers. No, that's not it. That was too Michael Jackson.